It was an ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunately.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing here. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. Get the mark, go! The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home.
Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
Hello?
Like a dream.
Are you looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really hard than you see.
That's what this is, the quest. And everyone has a part to play. Sometimes the quest can be scary. And when it gets close to the end, that's when it gets really scary.
These talisman, they will protect the houses in town. I don't know why it works, but you got one of those, you keep the doors and windows shut, they can't get in. Never tried it on a vehicle.
This is impossible.
Yeah, it is.
And welcome all to another edition of the Fromville Hour. And I hope everybody is enjoying their holiday season this year. I hope everybody had a fun and festive Christmas or whatever it is that everybody celebrates these days. Feliz Navidad, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, the whole shebang. Yeah, I hope everybody had a really good holiday season. I know, man, it whipped by this year. Christmas, it really feels like for me, I don't know, it's just my internal clock is off maybe, but it really feels like Halloween was just yesterday. I don't know why. I mean, this is usually my favorite time of year anyway, between the gap between Halloween and Christmas. These are definitely my two favorite holidays. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just, again, maybe it's just my internal clock, but it really feels like Halloween was just freaking yesterday or just last week. And here we are now. Christmas has already passed. We are looking forward to New Year's, which is just a few days away. New Year's Eve falling on Tuesday. Which we are going to have a very fun night, New Year's Eve night, as well as our yearly New Year's Eve bash kicks off, something we do every year on the channel here. And those are always really fun, and those are always a ton of fun to see where everybody else is during their New Year. I mean, last year it was a blast because we had tons of different time zones represented, so we had freaking balls dropping all over the place. You had balls dropping all night, pardon my French. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed our last year's New Year's Eve bash, and we're going to have a fun one this year as well. So I am looking forward to that. Welcome, Ravener, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you for joining, my friend. Thank you for joining. I was just asking the chat how their holiday season has been going so far. It's been like I was just saying, I mean, it really feels like it was just last week that we were celebrating Halloween, and here we are. Christmas is already gone. Like, where the heck did the time go? The time just flew by. I don't know if it's just me, but it really feels like it was just last week that we were kind of celebrating Halloween, and here we are getting ready for New Year's Eve. But welcome, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it does to me as well. Kind of feel like the holiday season just flew by. I don't know if it was because it was. I don't know. It felt like maybe Black Friday started like the week prior to Black Friday. I mean,
Yeah,
I still remember when Black Friday was actually the Friday after Thanksgiving, and people would mob
yeah,
stores and trample each other, and
yeah,
go
yeah. It would
go
be
bananas.
freaking pandemonium. Yeah,
Yeah. And then, then it would extend to, gradually it extended to, actual Thanksgiving, and people would like
yeah,
forego their Thanksgiving get-togethers and stuff just to go out and catch a sale on something. But now it's
yes,
extended to clear the entire week. And I don't know. I mean, Thanksgiving is always going to be on a Thursday, so um, it's not like anything particularly changed. But now it seems like it started the whole week. Now it's Black Friday
yeah,
week, so
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it helps things or harms things. I mean, people. I
It's
mean,
I feel like and you're absolutely right too, because it used to be, I mean, it's that one day. You have that one day, you pile all into the store, and 9 times out of 10, you couldn't even get what you were after anyway because it's already fucking sold out by the time you get there. But I feel like now it's a lot different with the whole online shopping extravaganza, thanks to Amazon and all of the eBay and all these other online shopping things. Yeah, it's not Black Friday anymore. It's the entire week.
yeah, yeah. And then Cyber Monday was the Monday after. It was
Yeah,
rather than single day events. Now it's just one continuous thing. I don't know. Maybe maybe people got their bargains and their sales and whatnot. Over the course of the whole week, and maybe they were able to focus more on Thanksgiving as a holiday.
hmm,
Yeah. I mean, because I was in the market, as and some of the people in the chat know, I was in the market for a new computer, so I was
yeah,
heavily looking for, I was building it myself, so I was looking for markdowns and sales, and 30% off here, or one component or another, being on sale, and figuring that I wasn't going to get another good deal until I don't even know when, maybe in the next
yeah,
Prime Day in July or something. Um,
yeah,
so I was more attuned to the purchasing aspect than I usually am in the course of a year, because most of the time I'm not really lured by 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 sales and stuff, because a lot of it is just stuff that I don't need. If I don't particularly need it, then I'm not really tempted. You can mark something off 80%, and if it's something I don't want,
yeah. I don't care
80%
how
off is
cheap
something
it
I don't
is.
want.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. If I don't want it, putting a lower price tag on it isn't going to all of a sudden make me want it now. I'm the same way, man. I'm very, conservative in my spending in terms of, like I only try to buy the things I absolutely need, whether it's work necessities, for, on the job, which a lot of that stuff you can kind of, end up doing a tax write off anyway at the end of the year. So that does help, at least, business wise. But yeah, no, I'm the same way. I mean, I kind of only buy the things that I absolutely need. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to treat yourself every once in a while. Like recently, I remember I told you my PS5 had shit the bed, so I needed to get into one of those. So that was fun.
Mhm.
I'm actually like similar to you, actually. I'm in the market for a new computer. The computer that, I mean, I think I've mentioned this in the past, but my computer is starting to it's starting to see its end. It is approaching its last mileage, as it were. So I'm definitely going to have to grab something new here pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's it's a good one that will let you know before it keels over. You'll see
Not
little
mine.
signs, and it's like, oh, you're yeah. If
Not
it just
mine.
craps out on you suddenly,
One of
then you're
these
in
days, I'm
emergency
gonna.
mode. Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna come in here, get ready to stream, and it's just not gonna fucking come on. I'm just waiting for that day to happen. It's like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I feel like that's half of my life, and although I'm always waiting for some other shoe to drop, some
Then they have
devastating
you over a
shoe that's
barrel,
gonna.
though. Yeah,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you have to buy it in a hurry and in an emergency.
Yeah.
And I was laughing too because when you buy all the components and stuff and the video card and all this stuff, it's like when you buy a mattress and then suddenly like the internet, I don't know, between the cookies and the stuff on the internet that knows what and Alexa listening in on your discussions and stuff. It's like you buy a mattress, suddenly you're getting offers for a bunch of mattresses. Man, I ain't buying. I'm just buying one mattress, man. I ain't looking for. I just bought one a minute ago. I don't need another one immediately. And now I'm getting offers for like Nvidia cards and stuff. I'm like, man, I deliberately didn't buy an Nvidia card. Yeah.
It's
Stuff
crazy. You search one, you see, I mean, you don't even have to search something. You can just be kind of tangentially, browsing on something on the internet. Next thing you know, every freaking ad you're getting, whether it's on YouTube or, an app, every ad is like, oh, all of a sudden you need this. It's like, okay, you're totally not looking at what we're doing. Okay.
Right.
But no, it's one of those things, and online shopping really has changed everything. It's changed Christmas. It's changed just about the majority of holidays, and especially all of these these Black Fridays and these Cyber Mondays. It's all online nowadays. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I've gone into a store and I've seen like what we used to see 10, 15 years ago, where there's just a line stretched outside the door waiting for them to open at freaking 6 a.m. And then you got people running all in like Jingle All the Way. It's not like that too much anymore. Again, online shopping has alleviated a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about online shopping all night. But let's see what's up in the chat and see what everybody is getting into. And again, I hope everybody did enjoy their holiday season. Did you do anything special for Christmas this year? You didn't do any traveling, or was it just a kind of quiet one? I did a quiet one myself.
No, I hung out mostly with Jen, just here, just online in Discord or whatever. As you know, we're both playing Red Dead Redemption.
Yes.
So, oh man, that game is it really holds up.
Addictive, man.
Yeah.
It's so addictive.
And we'll just sit there, and it's like if in an online relationship, all you can do is communicate. All you can do is talk. So it's like okay, and we just hung out, and we'd talk about whatever, and
Nice.
I'd get mauled by a jaguar or something. It's like, oh, that's bullshit. The game is cheating. I'm like, yes, it is cheating.
It is. It's all the game. It's always the game's
Not
fault.
my lack of skill.
No, that's good, man. I'm glad you guys had a good one. Glad you guys were able to share the Red Dead experience a little bit. It's nothing bonds like watching some Red Dead, I would imagine. But no, it's such a fun game, man. There's just so much you can do in it. It's so immersive. There's it really is one of the best sequels to a really good game I've probably ever played, really. And I love the first Red Dead. Don't get me wrong. The first one was really good. The first two, because there was Red Dead Revolver before Red Dead Redemption. So this is actually technically the third one in the franchise. A lot of people don't remember Red Dead Revolver because it was nothing like Red Dead Redemption. But yeah, it's a very addictive game. I'm really enjoying it. But I have recently started diving into Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, and and that game is just man, that game is so good. It's so seamless. It's so fluid in its mechanics, in the fighting style, all of it. It's really a great game. Anybody's a gamer out there, I'm sure most of you who are gamers have probably already played Black Myth Wukong. But if you haven't, definitely check that one out. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to do a gaming stream at some point because with all the gaming we've been doing and discussing,
it just
lately,
makes me laugh, Yeah, it's just so, I guess it's a nice innocent thing. If people will spend 2 hours watching a movie, no problem. There's why would you not? I mean, playing a game like that, there's nothing really. It's pretty harmless, and even it doesn't. I mean, it's nonstop killing of people and things, but other than that, there's no nudity, there's a little bit of suggestive stuff, but other than that, but it's good writing, good humor. I probably will at some point do Black Myth Wukong, but I'm the guy that will tend to wait like 3 years to be at a 50% off sale on Steam or something and pick it up. And I still something in my it's like when your like grandma puts $1 in your Christmas card because they remember when $1 was actually, significant.
Like a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel when it's like a game is over $30. It's like, well, $65 for a game. Wow, back in my day, I remember. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I have trouble
Yeah.
dropping
Waiting a year or two can never hurt. At least it's certainly not going to hurt the pocket, as it were. But yeah, welcome everybody. Let me see who's in this awesome chat here. Let me scroll up. We got the Rogue Prince was first tonight. Squid Game is off to a good start. It is. It's off to a freaking great start, I must say. And 100% agree with Lily here as well. It's always nice when a sequel doesn't disappoint, right? I mean, I feel like we're always disappointed with, or not always, but I feel like more often than not, sequels can be a little disappointing, or at least, at the very least, not live up to the original. I mean, I can think of, I can probably count on one, maybe two hands if I really, really sat and thought and tried for a while of how many sequels genuinely live up or surpass the original. There's not really many out there, but yeah, I mean, I'm only a few episodes into Squid Game season 2, and it's already great. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's got that same feel. I was wondering how they were going to do a season 2 based on how season 1 was kind of structured. It's kind of one of those shows where you would think it would be a kind of a one and done thing. Like, how often can you return to this kind of game style format? But they seem to be doing it in a very clever and believable way, where you see him just incredibly traumatized and gutted from all of the events of the season 1 of Squid Game. And I love how season 2 kind of picks up right where season 1 left off. For the at the very beginning, and then you get a 2-year time jump, and you can just see that he has been obsessed, just doing nothing but trying to figure out more about this game for the last 2 years. And it's really kind of consumed his whole life, to the point where he's spending all of his prize money just to try and learn more about this game and ultimately stop it. But yeah, it's been a great sequel. Again, sometimes season 2s don't always live up to season 1s, but Squid Game so far is absolutely killing it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Squid Game a little bit later on as well, before we close the stream out. We're definitely going to dive into some more Squid Game. Cool. But yeah, really, really great. Have you seen Squid Game season 1, or are you watching season 2?
I downloaded it, and I'm about halfway through episode 1, and so far, not a whole lot has happened. They've just barely discovered the man in the guy in the gray suit, and they're still chasing him. That's where I kind of left off before the show started. But I did appreciate, because I was afraid, given how it started, I was like, oh shit, am I gonna have to go back and rewatch it? Because I kind of did forget how season 1 ended. I mean, I had the general idea and the beats, and I did watch it, and I kind of remembered what happened, but I didn't remember all of it. But they seem to be filling in the blanks narratively. So I didn't really have to go back and watch maybe like the last episode or 2 of season 1. Was able to jump right into season 2. So, and by 30 minutes in, I kind of we're at least up to speed on what the goal of the whole thing is and whatnot. So like, oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, so far, it seems, pretty interesting. Even what was the one that was set in the zombie one? Kingdom? Was it
Kingdom? Yes. Kingdom? I mean, that show's been just in limbo for years now. Just devastating.
Yeah, I like that. But one thing I've noticed with you notice like they'll put like a comedy relief character, like a clown character in there sometimes.
Always. It's a big trope over there in the kind of Korean style filmmaking. You'll see it in almost tons of stuff, even like really serious stuff. You'll have that one kind of archetype there.
Is there one in Squid Game this time?
Oh yeah.
Is there? Okay.
Oh yeah. There's definitely one in Squid Game season 2, and it's actually kind of funny.
Okay, I haven't seen him yet.
Kind of funny. Yeah, no, you're 100% right though. There's always that archetype always seems to be in just about every genre over there. But I got to say, they've been killing it over the last few years in terms of like putting out some of the best films and some of the best series I've seen in a while. The Korean cinema has just been absolutely killing it. And again, you mentioned Kingdom, which was a really, really, really great series. I think Kingdom is probably the best zombie show that I've ever seen. And it sucks that it's kind of been in limbo for so long. And you mentioned kind of refreshing on Squid Game as well, and it was a while. Squid Game season 1 came out a long time ago, and that's one of the drawbacks of some of these shows that are coming out from some of these Asian markets. They're phenomenal shows, really good storytelling, but usually you have to wait a good 2, sometimes 3 years in between seasons, which is unfortunate. Which again, we're seeing that bleed over here into the States now as well, and we're seeing that here with From, where From season 4 has been greenlit, which is great. I think all of us knew they were going to get a season 4 of From. It was just a kind of a matter of when they chose to announce it. But now we know it looks like we're not going to get season 4 of From until well into 2026, hopefully early 2026. But at least probably not until 2026 at the very earliest. So we're seeing that bleed over here into the States now as well, where films and series are just, they're taking way longer to produce, and the episode counts are continuing to shorten. So it's a little, it's a little counterproductive in terms of the efficiency of the filmmaking industry over the last 10 years. It really has taken a big step back. But
and then they'll
here we
pretend like
are.
they don't understand why the hype and enthusiasm has waned, after something is sit on
Yep.
the shelf for 2 years, or or been
Mhm.
out of the zeitgeist for 2 years. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. It's sometimes it's hard to recover, especially nowadays when you have so many shows, so many films coming out. I mean, unless you have that really kind of die-hard following behind your show, and I would say From is kind of developing that kind of die-hard core audience. So I think From will be okay. I mean, they're going to have an extended hiatus, no doubt. But I imagine when season 4 of From comes around, it'll be, the hype train will be at max, just like it was for season 3. I mean, because we were worried about season 3. After, the show was off for so long, we were wondering, are they going to kind of be able to pick up that same momentum that season 2 ended off on, where the fandom seemed to be growing exponentially? And lo and behold, when season 3 came around, as soon as they dropped that first trailer, it was like it just breathed an entire big breath of life into the From fandom, and it was just boom, right back like we had never left. So I think at this point, From has developed a loyal and big enough following that when season 4 does come around, I think it'll be business as usual. The show will be as popular as ever. But some of these other shows that don't have the following that From has, they might seriously consider trying to get their series out a little quicker rather than later, because yeah, public interest is going to wane after a while for sure.
right. And you just have to hope that there's not another like sensation that's happening at the exact same time as you're launching. You can schedule something for October of next year, but what if they're,
Yep.
the same way, there's fads that take over and are on everybody's, on everybody's tongue, but
You
you
never
know,
know.
you got to
You
hope
never know
that it
what's coming
doesn't
around the
coincide
corner.
with what, yeah, if you got a big launch planned and then there's a fad sweeping the the country and everybody's focused on one thing. Just like I remember the Among Us, the Among Us during COVID, and uh everybody was playing that game, and then the other one, I can't remember what it was, I can't remember what basically you just run around and like you'd push people off of you'd run around a map and like push people off of cliffs and stuff and off of like platforms.
Jeez.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was kind of like a cartoony fun one. Maybe the chat can help
Yeah.
me out there. Fall Guys, you got it.
Fall
Big
Guys. Okay. Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember the Fall Guys craze. Yeah, the little cartoony guys, and you're kind of, you're running around trying to be the last dude standing on these platforms that are always swinging and spinning and shit. Yeah, I remember Fall Guys. Fall Guys was, it just completely swept online. Every streamer was playing it. Everybody was talking about it. That game was everywhere. I never saw the appeal myself. But, I tried playing it once, and I thought it was actually kind of boring. But that's just me. I'm not like a huge gamer myself. I mean, I kind of casually play on console once in a while, but I'm not really like a big gamer myself. Not enough time, unfortunately. Just not enough time. Not enough hours in the day. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Bill D in the house. What is up, Bill D? Welcome, welcome. And again, welcome to everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season. Got Nikki in the house. What is up, Nikki? We got Big Heck in the house. Like a dream. Yes, like a dream. Gotta love the dream. And again, this is why the whole dream kind of theories and all of that has been very prevalent in From, because they had been hitting us over the head with so many references to nightmares and dreams ever since the show began. And now that they have recently come out and kind of debunked the whole dream theory, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to wonder what exactly are all of these dream references referring to, or are they referring to anything at all, or is it just something that they thought sounded good? You never know. But it's, at least we do now know that it is not one giant shared dream that is happening in Fromville. That theory has been debunked by the creators themselves. We got Minerva in the house. What is up, Minerva? Good to see you as well. We got Sand Flyer. Welcome, Sand Flyer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Robert Saunders in the building. Welcome, welcome, Robert. We got PM Philosophy in the house. What is up, PM? I hope you are doing well this evening. We got the Grumbledore in the building. What is up, Grumbledore? Always good to see you as well, my friend. We got B. Morgan in the house. What is up, B. Morgan? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Frenchie Maple. Hello, hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Yes, indeed. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody is, again, enjoying their holiday and staying safe out there during these holiday seasons. Especially if you live in, or not even if you live, or if you're just celebrating in a colder area. The roads can be treacherous. We had 2 accidents within like 3 miles of our house, and just in this last week alone. The ice really gets bad up here, so that kind of isn't crazy uncommon. But be careful out there. You gotta be careful. You never know what kind of assholes are on the road. There's a lot of assholes on the road around here. That's for damn sure. A lot of assholes. We got Golden Child in the house as well. What is up, Golden Child? Good to see you as well. When we are all getting together to do some Red Dead Online bounties together, that might actually have to happen at some point. The thing is, I know we all kind of play on different systems. I know Ravener is on PC, where I'm on console. So yeah, maybe one day if we can kind of all sync up on one platform or another, yeah, maybe we can do that. I'd definitely be down to do some bounties with you guys. Absolutely, that'd be a blast. That'd be fucking fun, man. Brian Holiday says, why can the man in yellow come out during the day and other monsters cannot? Very good question indeed, Brian. It's a lot that we really don't know about this man in yellow yet, but it doesn't seem like he's a monster. At least not a monster in the traditional sense of all of the monsters that we have come to know and love on the show. The Smileys, the cowboy monsters, the granny monster, the nurse monster. It seems like they are something different entirely, or rather the man in yellow is something different entirely from them. And I tend to think the man in yellow is a little bit of a step above them. I wouldn't be surprised if he is the main villain of the entire show. And again, I've explained this in the past, but I feel like if they really are only doing 5 seasons, then that's 2 seasons left. Then, considering that they set up the man in yellow, or kind of tangentially or accidentally have been setting up the man in yellow ever since season 1, when we find out it was his voice on the other end of the radio that Jim heard at the end of season 1. It seems like they've been setting up this character for a long time. So he does kind of have that main villain aura around him. And if there is only 2 seasons left, it's going to be tough, difficult for them to set up and introduce another big main villain on top of the man in yellow. So part of me does tend to think that this may be the big villain, the main villain of the show. And I think there's just so much that we don't know about him yet. I mean, could he even have been the original kind of being, or the original entity that first convinced the parents of sacrificing their children? There's so much we don't know about this man in yellow. But in terms of why he can come out during the day, I think it's just because I think he's many levels above the monsters. I think this man in yellow is far more powerful. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the mastermind of most of the events that we have seen here on the show. But I think he's, again, long story short, I think he's just he's something else entirely, and he's, again, many levels above the monsters, and that's probably why he can come out during the day. What about you, Ravener? When you look at the man in yellow, why do you think he is? And do you think that the writers had him come out during the day? Do you think they introduced his character like this so we, as the audience, would know right off the bat that, okay, this is something different we're dealing with?
Yeah, I think they really did, and it's a narrative choice that they could make. They could have him come out at night, and then we're like, okay, and that would be a huge dangling question. Is this guy another monster? Is he the boss of the monsters? Blah blah blah. They've chosen to go an entirely different way, which opens a whole different set of questions. Okay, now he is, that's exactly the thing, though. He is out during the day, and we know that he's super powerful, but really we don't know, and we know at least that he was the voice in the radio, so that he's been around this whole time. He's not new on the scene, but other than that, we really don't know a whole lot, and I have a feeling that we're putting, we're making guesses and assumptions and presuming that he can do this and that. We really don't know. I mean, we really don't know much about the guy. Yeah. That'll probably be, the first order of business in season 4 is to establish what this guy can do. I had postulated that maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just have him fade to the background again. Yeah, and then because right now,
Boy in White style, where they kind of, he kind of only appears every once in a while, or it's one of those things where he's kind of completely absent until the end of the season. I hope they don't go that route, but that's a big possibility. You're right.
Because technically, Jim is the only person who's ever seen him, because Future Julie doesn't count. Future Julie has to go back to the future, because current Julie's still sitting in the diner with Ethan talking about the rules of story walking. So right now all we know is that Jim's laying out there with his throat pulled out. The one person who was a witness is dead. So what if he does? What if he really, the man in yellow appears on the scene, does something catastrophic, and then just fades, just steps back into the background again, created a whole bunch of chaos, and then just sits back and watches his handiwork. It's going to have a devastating impact on Julie and Ethan. It's going to have devastating impact on Tabitha. We postulated that now Tabitha is a single mom who with 2 kids to worry about and protect. She's going to be less indulgent on going on vision quests with Jade. And trying to figure out the ultimate mystery. Will that frustrate Jade, who really wants to get to the bottom of it? Now things are, she's got bigger priorities than worrying about, so basically I'm just a reincarnated somebody else. Sure, that's, it's going to be on her mind, but that ain't going to be the first, front and center. At least for a little while. Hopefully for a few episodes, she'll and that's the thing, when it happens every time when Tian Chen dies, whenever there's any major scenes, it just stands to reason that the next episode people consolidate. They figure out where they're at and then where to go from there. So it'll be. I will love to see how they handle the first couple episodes of season 4.
Do you think? And I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I mean, like you said, the circumstances that Jim got killed under, we as the audience, again, this is why it's always very interesting, because us as the audience, we have that bird's eye view. We have that POV that our characters don't have. We see the entire field where they only see their own point of view. So yes, I think that's going to be a very interesting aspect, depending on who finds Jim's body and under what circumstances they do find Jim's body. I imagine the man in yellow will probably be long gone by the time they find his body. We've already seen that Sarah has been kind of suspect number 1 in the death of Tilly, which we know was really Fatima, which Boyd knows was really Fatima, which Donna knows was really Fatima. So I imagine Sarah's not going to take the fall for the Tilly murder. There's enough people in the town that know for 100% fact she didn't do it. But this is something different. Jim's death is a little bit different. Even Boyd can't 100% say that it wasn't Sarah. I mean, we know it wasn't Sarah. But do you think she might be targeted in season 4? Like after this, the death of Jim is discovered, will she be a suspect in his death? Or will they look at the manner under which he was killed? I mean, looking at Jim's body could be another telltale sign. I mean, he had his throat really just completely ripped off, like not throat, not he didn't have his throat cut, it was completely ripped off of his body. His throat was. I mean, are they going to look at the state of Jim, and will that kind of be a telltale sign that maybe this wasn't a human that did this?
I wonder if they'll even care that much or go that deep into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, even with Boyd and Donna and other people knowing that Sarah wasn't. I mean, Donna said that Sarah's the one that's going to get blamed for it unless they come up with another explanation. I just don't see Boyd throwing Fatima under the bus and flat out saying, "Oh, she was under a certain influence and it wasn't her fault." That kind of stuff. They're going to have to explain how Fatima's not pregnant anymore in the course of a week.
True.
They've got a ton of explaining to do, and they throw that little part in. Oh yeah, hey guys, just a quick update. Fatima, was pregnant for a week, and then she did have a baby, but it's also the Smiley monster. And then
That
also, remember Tilly with the garden shears in her chest? She did that too. By the way, and but I think I think even in the face of all of that, I think somebody in the cast, maybe it could be a Colony House rando. It depends on what character they want to put on the forefront. Somebody would absolutely not accept the notion that it was anybody but Sarah. So I have a feeling that somebody may just have some irrational blame for Sarah and be resistant to any information or evidence to the contrary.
Like the couple that Kenny and Aosta were actually questioning, the first couple that actually brought Sarah's name up in the first place. And when that one dude said, "We all know who did this," referring to Sarah, since they already kind of set that couple up, that those Colony House extras up in that manner. Yeah, I could totally see that exact same couple bringing this up again, like, hey, this was Sarah too. Maybe we'll see some people just have a grudge for Sarah. Maybe they just have it out for Sarah, which would be unfortunate because I do feel like Sarah is becoming a valuable asset to the town. I mean, like the sacrifice she did for Boyd at the end of season 3 was impressive, and it was incredibly selfless when you think about it. I mean, yes, it was a little bit savage, a little bit brutal when she kind of popped Elgin's eye out with a screwdriver. But
right.
when you take a step back and look at why she did what she did it for the most selfless reason ever: to save Boyd's soul, to keep Boyd's soul from getting any more tainted by having to torture this kid himself. So again, I really am enjoying the turn that Sarah is taking. I wouldn't even really call it a heel turn per se. I would call it that she's kind of stepping into her role in the town, her role being that she's the one that's not afraid to get her hands dirty to save other people from having to do so. And that's a big sacrifice that one would be willing to make at the cost of their own soul, potentially. So again, I have a lot of respect for Sarah coming out of season 3.
Yeah, but that's another situation where we get the bird's eye view, and we were privy to that personal conversation between Sarah and Elgin, and her explaining exactly what her rationale was. The one benefit they had is, Donna had evacuated Colony House prior to any of this happening. So really the people that know, again, we're dealing with a handful of people now. Boyd, Aosta, Kenny, probably, Donna, that the handful of core characters who hear some yelling, go upstairs and see Elgin with his eye popped out and Sarah with a bloody screwdriver in her hand. So that's the data set they're dealing with. So they weren't privy to the the heartfelt I'm gonna save your soul by sacrificing my own kind of thing. So depending on how smart people are, maybe Donna will be maybe less receptive to a very nuanced explanation,
Yeah,
and Acosta certainly probably will not be too receptive to listening to
yes,
Sarah's rationale for why she did what she did.
yeah,
um
yeah.
it is getting Boyd off the hook, so maybe Boyd might be a little more
Boy, will have her back.
defensive. Yeah, but I don't know, man. That'll be a tough sell for the general public, I think. And that's yeah, and that's providing that Elgin doesn't tell anybody anything about what happened. If he
True.
goes running his mouth to people, and I mean, he'll have a hard time, casting himself as the victim when without explaining any of the other shit that he did to get himself in that chair. So yeah, it'll be tough.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the town reacts. And again, there's already people out there who seem to have it out for Sarah, or at the very least, don't trust her and are still fearful of her, given her history, and which is understandable. I mean, she did kill people and kill her own brother, but yeah, I guess like what you said, it really is a matter of perception, and it really is a matter of how you're viewing this, how you're approaching the whole situation. Like, we as the audience, we got to see it all, so I think we would be a little more sympathetic. Not all of us. I mean, it's hard to know where everybody's going to fall on a subject like this, but I think, at least based on a lot of the comments that we got after the finale, a lot of people were kind of understanding of why Sarah did what she did. And again, I thought it was a selfless act too. Yes, it was brutal. Yes, it was savage. But the fact that the intention behind it, of her trying to kind of keep Boyd's soul from being any more tarnished, was, again, it was a selfless act when you look at it in that regard. But and again, most of these people in Colony House, all they're going to know is Sarah popped out Elgin's eye with a screwdriver. They might not be too interested in the surrounding details. So that is a good point. I just wanted to bring up this as well. I just saw this in the chat. Will Smalls, I am so sorry for that. I mean, we've had some very similar kind of problems this holiday season as well with my parents, and that's why we did a very, very small Christmas this year. Mine was a bit stressful. Dad in the hospital, now a skilled PT center. He is doing well, just never want family in the hospital, especially around this time of year. And I could not agree with you more, my friend. And I'm super grateful that he is out of the hospital, and I hope he is doing well. I definitely send my best thoughts and prayers for his speedy recovery. And it sucks. I mean, you hate seeing family in the hospital this time of year. And again, we had a very similar situation where we had a pretty close call with one of our parents. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking any time of year, but it's kind of even doubly nerve-wracking when stuff like that happens this time of year during the holiday season. So I'm right there with you, man. I sympathize, and I know what it feels like firsthand to kind of go through those events. But super glad that your dad is out of the hospital. I'm glad he is doing well. That is awesome, my friend. And it's good to see you. Good to see you here. I hope you are enjoying your holiday season and have a really fun New Year's Eve. We're going to be going live New Year's Eve like we do every year, and we'll be hanging out. We got some fun activities that I am planning for the New Year's Eve stream. Last year's was a blast. I know Ravener and I were talking about this recently, where last year's New Year's Eve stream that we had here on the channel was pretty interesting because we had people from all over the globe that were in the chat hanging out with us. So you had all of these different balls dropping in all of these different kind of time zones. And I hate even kind of saying it like that, balls dropping all over the place. But balls dropping all over the place sounds a little weird. But no, it was a really fun New Year's Eve stream last year, because we had people from all different kind of time zones all over the world, all kind of celebrating their New Year's Eve when it happened. So we're going to do something similar this year. It won't be probably as long as last year's. I think we went like 4 or 5 hours last year for our New Year's Eve stream. It won't be that long, but we'll definitely going to be planning a fun New Year's Eve stream this year. And I got a few fun activities that are going to be a surprise that we're going to have fun with. So I hope everybody is enjoying the rest of their holiday season. And again, Will, super glad that your father is out of the hospital, and glad that he is making a speedy recovery. That's great to see. That is great to see. All right, let's see what else we got. Pam Jam says, "I am late to this, but are y'all theorizing that the man in yellow, the boy in white, won't help the townspeople? How won't help the townspeople?" And again, very good question. You know, why exactly will the boy in white not help so much? Why is he so kind of cagey? Why is he playing things so close to the chest? We get a little bit of an explanation in episode 9 in season 3 when the boy in white is telling Victor that you know, last time he kind of laid everything out, last time he did meddle too much and tried to help was with Christopher. And we all saw what happened during that time period, during that cycle, during that iteration. It ended with all of them getting absolutely massacred. So it seems like the boy in white is a little bit more reluctant this year. It seems like he doesn't really want to just lay out all of the information for them. He wants them to figure it out on their own, to kind of come by it at, you know, come upon all of this information in a natural manner. So I think that's what he's doing. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, and I brought this up in my video that I dropped today. Now that the man in yellow has entered the fray physically, you know, it's, you know, it was one thing when the man in yellow was maybe the man behind the curtains, kind of, you know, subtly pulling the strings. Now the man in yellow has stepped onto the stage. He has entered the game physically. So I wonder if that is going to prompt the boy in white to maybe start taking a little bit more of a hands-on approach. Now that the man in yellow is here, now that the man in yellow is physically killing our characters himself personally, will that be enough to make the boy in white step in a little bit more and maybe start to help a little bit more? Could the man in yellow arriving change the tide a little bit and have the boy in white become a little bit more active in this kind of fight that's happening here?
Yeah, it might. It might force him kind of to be more active. That the boy in white is such a strange character to begin with. He didn't. The first person he appeared to was Ethan, and then it's kind of that kind of. I don't know how many more times Ethan has appeared. He's appeared to probably more people. Like after reappearing to, you know, after appearing to Ethan, he's probably appeared to, you know, Victor, or let's see, he's appeared to Boyd and Sarah, and I think he used telepathy, right? He didn't
Sarah, when
actually
he was
speak.
talking to Sarah.
Yeah.
We know that Elgin had the dream of him coming into Fromville. Elgin finally remembers his dream, that it was the boy in white telling him about the nursery rhyme.
Tabitha, of course, with both the lighthouse and being led through Camden, Maine, with visions of him, even though he didn't talk to her. He just kind of like ran away from her, essentially, in the real world, which was another weird thing. So I wonder what his role is. And then he finally he appears to Victor and says that, you know, well, I'm, you know, fed up with you people because I tried to help last time. He's really, you know, not very forthcoming with you know, his help is not very helpful. I think, you know, I'm kind of on the same page as most of the other people. If you're going to help, just flat out say what your help is. I mean, I don't need clues. I need instructions, the type of thing. But yeah, he's a very strange character. But yeah, if he is actually the yin to the man in yellow's yang, he might be forced to manifest himself physically and appear to people in a different way. Although, again, there's only one person who knows about the man in yellow, and that guy's dead. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to up the stakes and up the urgency for the boy in white as well. It's going to be tough.
Will it prompt him?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Does the boy in white know that the man in yellow has entered the fray physically? I mean, it seems like the boy in white, you know, I don't want to go as far as to say he's, you know, omnipotent and he's all seeing and all knowing, but he definitely seems like he knows a great deal. I mean, it like literally the second Victor put the axe to that faraway tree, he showed up in a freaking second. And again, I don't know if that is because he can just see a lot of stuff, if he's tied to these faraway trees. I had a kind of tinfoil theory a little while back that maybe when the Anghkooey children were pouring all of their hope into the roots, and when they created the faraway tree, maybe they created a little bit more than just the tree. Maybe the boy in white is actually a avatar of the faraway tree, a physical manifestation of it. And maybe that's why he was so concerned when Victor was taking the axe to it. Maybe taking the axe to the faraway tree destroys the boy in white. But no, we don't know how much he sees, how much he knows, just because we, like you mentioned, as the audience see the man in yellow has entered the fray, does the boy in white even know that the man in yellow has entered the fray yet? I tend to think he probably does, but you never know. There's maybe a chance that he doesn't. But we have Cat Harlem for $9.99. Thank you so much, Cat Harlem. Cat Harlem, very much appreciate it. Sarah was at the house when with everyone, so she has an alibi. Only a few people knew Boyd killed a monster. I hope Boyd stepped away from being sheriff in season 4. By the end of season 4, they beg him to come back. And I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see Boyd in season 4 in particular. I think he's going to be dealing with a ton of guilt, first and foremost. I mean, as justified as we as the audience may feel about him torturing Elgin was, which I very much agree. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not much I wouldn't do to try and save my family if I was in Boyd's shoes. But knowing Boyd is who he is, knowing Boyd does have that kind of strong sense of right and wrong, knowing Boyd does have that kind of strong moral center, I wouldn't be too surprised if he is going to feel very guilty for what he did to Elgin, justified as it may be. And of course, Sarah as well. Sarah has the alibi. And not only does she have the alibi, but Sarah also has people backing her up. Like Boyd definitely seems like he is in Sarah's corner. I don't think Boyd is going to let anything happen to Sarah, whether it's the Tilly death that she gets blamed for, or whether it's this Jim death she gets blamed for. I get the feeling Boyd will most likely defend her and protect her. But no, I mean, in terms of Boyd stepping down from being sheriff, though, that's a very interesting aspect. I mean, we saw Boyd have that conversation with Kenny here at the end of season 3 in terms of telling Kenny that his Parkinson's is back, it's getting worse. At some point, he is going to have Kenny step up and fill his shoes. And I do think Kenny is the right man for that job. And that's another thing I kind of covered in my video today. When I look at all of these characters in the cast as it stands today, I think Kenny is one of the few characters that I would probably say with a 99% certainty will survive the entire show and end up making it out. There's not many characters I'm expecting to survive all the way to the end. I think a good majority of our main characters are going to die along the way or die at the very end, trying to fix all of this. I don't think a whole lot of our characters are actually going to make it out. Kenny, though, I definitely think he is one of the characters that will survive. Everything that he's been through, everything that they've thrown at him, it seems to have only made him a little bit stronger now. Whereas a lot of people would have been broken 10 times over after everything that Kenny has been through. When you look at all of the tragedy in Fromville, I would argue that maybe only Boyd has been through more personal tragedy than Kenny, and maybe even not. Maybe it's kind of similar. Maybe they're kind of tied in that regard. But I definitely think Kenny is going to be one of the few that does survive. But Boyd, one thing we saw about Boyd at the end of season 3, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on this in the chat and on the panel as well, Raven or you as well. We did see that even Donna kind of pointed it out, that it seems like a portion of the town was starting to lose a little bit of their faith in Boyd. Now, and that was before the events of the season 3 finale. That was before people are going to find out what he did to Elgin and etc. I'm wondering, are we going to see that storyline continue in season 4? Will we continue to see the townsfolk of Fromville start to lose a little bit more faith in Boyd more and more and more? Will we get to a point where this town does kind of turn their back on Boyd and they don't want him to be the sheriff anymore? Again, we're already seeing a very small beginnings of that, and even Donna has pointed it out. Do you think that's going to continue, and do you think we will see Boyd kind of get brought down to that very low point in season 4? Because as tough as season 3 was for Boyd, I think season 4 is going to be 10 times worse for Boyd, physically and psychologically. But do you think the town will continue to kind of have that schism?
Yeah, absolutely. And we had talked about this in the middle of season 3, it kind of in the doldrums episodes, how we had guessed that there might be a schism, that there might be a whole separate faction that rises up, the possibility that people might decide that maybe Acosta's, at least being by merit of being a real police officer, might have more, credibility. Of course, we didn't see that as the viewer, but somebody in the town might feel that way. I felt that was the way that they were breaking Boyd. By direct trauma and stuff, not so much. I mean, he turned out to be pretty resilient as far as being forced to witness some horrific things. But the other way to break him is to take away his foundation, and the thing that he derived his most pride and most of his influence was by being Mr. Fish and Lowe's, by being the guy that the town goes to, by being the guy that whenever they had a question, they'd go to him. And gradually over time, they started asking questions that he didn't have the answers to. And when he did come up with an answer, at least twice, they just straight up challenge him and say, we don't like what you've come up with. And he would say, what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know, but something different. Do better. Do something different. That's like, there, and that is a tough position to be in, having people demand answers of you to things that you don't understand either. You have, he like, there are certain things, the logistic side, of course, the Fish and Low stuff, he probably did have experience with, and he probably at least had a blueprint, mentally to work with, at least a place to start. But now they're asking him for answers to questions that he has no greater knowledge or understanding of the situation than they do, but they're still coming to him and demanding answers. So yeah, I think they're well on the way to breaking Boyd, and by undermining his authority, and again, it all depends on how much Elgin tells about his experiences. I mean, will he tell about his experiences up in that room, getting his hand smashed with a hammer and his eye pulled out? He might, but he'll have to do that without explaining again how he ended up in that chair in the first place, how he kind of like abducted Fatima and all this other, and fed her his blood and all this other stuff. Maybe his audience will be a little less sympathetic to him if he shared those little details. But ultimately, I think undermining Boyd's authority, undermining his sense of mission and that kind of stuff will be the way that they really get to Boyd. Removing him from his post, like taking him down where where people are openly doubting him, openly challenging him, without him having a ready comeback to put them back in their place. So yeah, I think that'll be the path that they have for Boyd, maybe in season 4. And it'll certainly change the character, and again, we'll get to see how Boyd responds to that. How well does he take it? Does he accept it? Does he fight it? Does that set him on a road for redemption on his own part? I'm not sure. It depends on. Again, I have no idea what these guys, the writers, have planned for these characters. It's all speculation at this point, but I could certainly see it going that way. It is the hero's journey. He has to be brought low before he can have a redemption. And he's had some setbacks and had to see some terrible things and had to sit powerless to stop some terrible things happening, like with Chen Chen. But he hasn't really been humbled and brought low yet in the show. So. But see, and yeah, I do think Kenny. I don't know where Jeremy went.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's cool. It's cool. And I definitely think Kenny, his arc. I think he's become one of the stronger characters. He kind of, he was kind of rudderless in the middle of, in season 2, but he's really kind of gotten back grounded. He really achieved that sense of to get, he got himself together pretty quickly in the face of some incredible traumas, losing both of his parents in and not just, I mean, like, if your parent like falls, dies in their sleep, that's one thing, but to have them like butchered by monsters,
It's a
both
bit
of them,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little
It's a
cherry on
harder
top.
pill to swallow, I would say. I mean, dying of natural causes is tragic in and of itself. Don't get me wrong. I mean, death is always tragic, especially when it's a loved one. But yes, when they're taken from you well before their time in a brutal, violent manner like that, I imagine that sting might be a little bit worse than having to be able to come to terms with just the natural order of things happening. So yeah, I mean, Kenny's been through the ringer, man. Everything that he's been through, everything that this place has taken from him, not just his parents, but even Christy. I mean, we see at the beginning of the series, he and Christy were, they were very much in that infatuation phase where, they were kind of both feeling each other out, but you could tell that there was something there. There was chemistry there. They both had feelings for each other. And then, boom, even that gets taken away from Kenny when Marielle shows up. So, you can see Kenny has been, that theme has been following Kenny ever since very early on in season one. This place just continues to take the people that he loves the most away from him. And I do think that'll also happen between him and Boyd. Again, I do ultimately feel that Boyd will not make it. I don't think Boyd is going to survive this whole series. I do think Boyd will ultimately die. Probably not in season 4, most likely in season 5, if season 5 is the final season, which it seems like it may be. I know it hasn't been confirmed yet, but yeah, I do ultimately feel like that is going to be Kenny's destiny, and that's why one of the reasons why I think Kenny himself is going to survive. I think Kenny's character is more tragic in the sense of, he's kind of destined or cursed to have everybody around him that he cares about die while he continues on. So I do think Kenny is going to be one of the few characters that definitely survives the entire series and makes it out. But I don't think Boyd will be. I think Boyd will probably die in a very heroic manner, either saving the entire town or just saving Kenny personally. And Lily brought that up in my comment section on today's video, and I thought she had a really interesting idea in terms of, what if Boyd does die saving Kenny in particular. And I think that would kind of be a pretty fitting closure for Boyd's character. I think that would be, again, it would be fitting considering the whole kind of, thing that Boyd had with Tien Chen right before she died, where Tien Chen's last dying words to Boyd were, take care of him. He'll be alone now. So I think if Boyd were to ultimately die saving Kenny, I think that would be a very fitting end for Boyd. I think that would be a very well-earned end for Boyd. Very tragic, but I think it would be him kind of fulfilling his duty to Tien Chen and fulfilling his duty as Kenny's protector. So I thought that was a really brilliant idea. If Boyd, I kind of always pictured Boyd kind of dying, saving the entire town. But I think it might be even a little bit better. And, you kind of add that if it's a little bit more on a personal level, where Boyd is kind of dying, saving Kenny specifically. Maybe the ramifications of it will save the rest of the town as well. But immediately, Boyd dying to save Kenny, I think is probably one of the more fitting endings for Boyd's story. So yeah, again, I think Kenny's going to survive. I think he's one of the few characters that will make it all the way to the end and out. But Boyd, I have a feeling he's going to ultimately die saving the people of Fromville, or again, maybe just saving Kenny.
Yeah, and I think it'll be very shocking. Yeah, it'll be very shocking when it happens, because right now Boyd has some hella plot armor. He's one of the few people that can be within arm's reach of multiple monsters multiple times in the show and just come out unscathed. So it'll be very shocking when that luck runs out, when they finally decide we're no longer worried about breaking you, we'll just kill you all, altogether. I think it'll be very shocking. Yeah.
It will be. And again, I think, like you said, Boyd does have a little bit of that plot armor, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Boyd as a character feels like he has some of that plot armor, just based on all of the times that the monsters haven't killed him, based on him kind of knowing that the monsters don't want him dead, that they want to break him. I wouldn't be surprised if, the very fact of knowing that at one point, maybe Boyd does start behaving a little bit reckless, a little bit more, not as careful as he usually would be. What if Boyd starts to feel deep down that he's safe and he drops his guard, and he does eventually end up getting killed. I think that would be a very fitting and, again, very tragic ending for the character. But I like the idea of him dying for Kenny as opposed to him dying to save the entire town. I mean, both are heroic, don't get me wrong, but I think it fits his story arc a little bit better if he does die saving Kenny, considering the Tien Chen angle. Brian Holiday from 199. How annoying is that new cop character? Acosta's been a pretty interesting one, I must say. The reception to Acosta, it's been mixed, to say the least. I suppose you could say that. I mean, there have been a lot of people that haven't been the biggest fans of Acosta. And you've had a few people, not many, but you've also had a few people that have enjoyed Acosta and have been defending her, some of her choices and actions and decisions. And again, some of her decisions are kind of understandable. Her being a newcomer to this place, not knowing what any of it is about. Like the night she arrived and she accidentally killed Nikki. Very tragic, but kind of understandable. You could kind of see that maybe happening to almost anybody first getting thrust into this place while also having a loaded weapon in their hand. It's a recipe for disaster no matter who is in that situation, Acosta or anybody. But no, Acosta's been an interesting character. I mean, I feel like when she first arrived here, she kind of had a really good approach where she was approaching Boyd in a manner of wanting to help him. She saw that Boyd was kind of under all this stress, and she saw the entire town was under all this stress. So she comes to Boyd with a pretty kind of interesting idea to help alleviate some of the town stress and get them focused on one job. But Boyd was just not in the presence of mind to hear it at that point. Unfortunately, Acosta visited Boyd at the worst possible time, right after Boyd had just had his own son kind of challenge him at the town meeting. So Boyd wasn't in the right state of mind to listen to anybody's advice at that point. But no, I think Acosta's been an interesting one. And yeah, again, I'd love to see everybody's opinions in the comment section. But what do you guys think about Acosta? Are there any Acosta fans in the chat? Are there people that don't like Acosta in the chat? Or is Acosta one of those characters that you don't hate, you don't like? She's kind of just there. I mean, what do you guys think about Acosta overall and her entrance into Fromville? Ravener, fan of Acosta or not a fan?
Man, I wanted to be. I didn't really hold it against her that she shot Nikki. Obviously it was an accident, and obviously, it was a pretty extreme situation. She just watched a couple of EMTs get disemboweled, that kind of stuff. So she was. So I didn't really hold that against her. And like you said, she did try to be helpful, try to give Boyd some ideas, and how to approach the situation, to focus people's attention, to give them a task, to kind of like distract them from a greater tragedy type thing. And, Boyd wasn't receptive to that. But then most of the other interactions that she's had, it's not that she's just an unpleasant person. She's argumentative and for not a whole lot of reason. She was confrontational with Kenny when they were in the diner, and he was trying to give her the orientation speech, the orientation to Fromville speech. This is what it is. Yeah. This is how it is. And all the questions that she had, like, why is it this way? Why is it that way? Why don't you guys do that? And he's telling her, look, you're not the first person to have that idea. And every new arrival wonders why nobody's, asking these questions. We all ask these same questions. And we know we've already been there, done that. We know that there's no answer. We know that there's no solution to it. So, we move on from there. But that's the thing. She was an unpleasant character, and again, man, just cursing for no reason. And I understand, like I said, I'm no saint. I'll curse here and there, but there's a difference when you're just cursing in the course of a regular conversation, or cursing at somebody, like man, this chili's effing hot. That's one thing. But when you say, what the F is wrong with you? What the F is wrong with you people? Why aren't you doing any, then it becomes, that becomes a confrontation that automatically amps it up. and she had the same issue with Boyd when she wanted her gun back and all that other stuff. It was just sometimes people amp up the intensity of a conversation to a 10 when it could very easily have gotten by on a 6. And so yeah, I'm not really, I don't want to see more of her. I don't really care what her ideas are or what plans she has, because she's just an utterly, it's not, and that's when they do it with female characters a lot. They make in order to make them seem masculine or manly or whatever, they make them unpleasant. They're generally unpleasant people. It's not a sign of strength to be, argumentative and grouchy and vulgar and gross and all this other stuff. I wouldn't hang out with guys that are like that either. So but they do that as like a shorthand kind of to try to make a female character have gravitas or serious, oh, you got to take this person. So she's a girl boss, she's not. She's irritating, and she's not somebody I'd want to spend time with.
I take
no, not really.
I think I kind of stand in the middle, where I'm not a fan of her, but I don't hate her. She kind of is just there. I mean, she didn't really make a huge impact. The impact she did make was definitely, I would say, a little more negative than positive, just based on, her kind of her handling of certain situations. Like you said, I mean, like when she stepped into the sheriff's station the first time, and she was very kind of cool, calm, and collected. You wanted to like her at that point. Like, I very much wanted to like this character. She's kind of presenting Boyd with a interesting kind of potential answer to alleviate some of the town's stress and all of the kind of freaking out that everybody was doing. But then, boom, a day later, we see her kind of trudging into Boyd's office, just demanding her gun back, and how incredibly unpleasant she was in that scene. It got really easy to not like her at that point, I guess you could say. So she's going to be an interesting one in season 4. And I feel like at some point we should get a Deadpool bet going, as opposed to how long she's going to keep the cop uniform on for. I mean, because it seems like it's not just clothing for her. It seems like it's that kind of symbol of power, that symbol of authority that lets everybody know around her that I am a person of authority. I am a person of power. It seems like she likes the uniform in that regard. She got super mad at Kenny when he even suggested that she kind of change it. But no, yeah, she's again, I wouldn't say Costa's one of my favorite characters. She's definitely not one of my favorite characters. I feel like she has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and she definitely seemed to have rubbed a little bit of the fandom the wrong way as well. Woodrow says she had no right handcuffing Tabitha to the ambulance.
Right.
And Susan is dead convinced that Acosta shot Nikki on purpose. Which is interesting. That's interesting. I don't think it was on purpose, personally. I mean, I think it was a little bit more accidental, but I think it was accidental in a sense where it could have easily been avoided. She was kind of being careless. She was kind of just blind firing all over the place. And I do get the sentiment in terms of thinking that maybe she did do it on purpose, considering how far away Nikki was in that window compared to the monster she was aiming at. The monster she was aiming at was on ground floor. Nikki was way up above it and like 5 feet to the left. So either she's got just the worst aim in the world, or yeah, I mean, I can understand why some people might think she might have shot Nikki on purpose, but I do tend to think it was just an accident in the heat of the moment, but who knows? She needs to be a menace or be helpful. Acosta is falling short of interesting, and that's a kind of a good way to put it. She comes in and she tries to be helpful, and then boom, she kind of completely does that 100% 180 where she does try to be menacing to Boyd. So it's almost like she doesn't have that middle gear, right? I mean, it's kind of like from one extreme to the other. And I feel like she is always trying to kind of showcase her authority, and like even in situations that happen at Colony House in the finale, whether it's what's happening to Sarah or any of it, what I mean, she is always inserting herself into the goings on of the town, even though she's only been here for not even a week. So yeah, I do think she kind of goes from one extreme to the other, from trying to help to trying to, as you say, be menacing, and especially with how she entered the sheriff's station in particular. We hated Jade only to end up loving Jade, LOL. So I'm gonna wait for Acosta, and that's fair. That's also fair as well. Me personally, I never hated Jade though. Like I loved Jade right from the beginning. I mean, maybe it's just my kind of dry humor, the asshole-ish, prickish kind of humor that Jade had. I kind of always loved Jade. Jade was always kind of one of my favorite characters from very early on, but I know I'm probably in the minority there. Like I know the way Jade entered the show, the way Jade entered the town, he was a little bit abrasive. He was a little bit rash. He was a little bit of a dick, or a lot of a dick at times. So I could totally understand maybe people maybe not liking Jade so much in the beginning, but then kind of getting warmed up to him.
Oh, Christ. Are you people living here now?
Our house collapsed.
What? At least you had one. It's not my fault you broke it.
Hey, take it easy.
You finally get rid of those 3 smelly hippies from Colony House, and now we got you people.
Yeah, which wasn't even his house to begin with. Yeah.
True, very true. Not even his house. It's Kenny's house. But yeah, no, I've always loved Jade, man. I love his humor. I love his the dry humor. That's a very kind of popular kind of form of humor up here in Boston, and in particular. Yeah, I've always liked Jade, but again, I know I might be in the minority there, where he did kind of come off like a pretty big asshole in the beginning. So very true. I hope Acosta can be helpful, says Minerva. Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe Acosta can kind of end up coming out of it and turning her ways around and become a useful character at some point. That is very, very much possible. Absolutely. Character arc is not fully flushed yet. Absolutely. I mean, she's only been in a handful of episodes. They're still very much kind of peeling back the layers of the Acosta character. So there's so much about her that we just don't know yet. So I could totally understand people waiting to kind of, waiting before they pass judgment on her to kind of see where her character goes. That's totally understandable. I love Jade. LOL. I can be like that. So horrible sometimes. And maybe that's just me too. Maybe that's just how I am. Maybe my sense of humor is a little different than everybody else's, I guess. And I feel like that there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a little bit of a different kind of sense of humor towards some things. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, I like Jade right from the beginning. I thought Jade was just fucking hilarious. And even though he was a little bit of a dick, I thought he was absolutely hilarious. And Susan also liked Jade from the beginning as well. Awesome. Ray says, I like Acosta after hearing her interview. She's a nice, down-to-earth actor. And if I hate her as Acosta, she's doing her job. That's a very good point, Ray. Absolutely. And that's one thing that I do like to kind of highlight every once in a while, even when it's the blackest of villains, even if when it's the kind of King Joffrey characters or Ramsay Bolton characters, or the most despicable characters in some of our most favorite shows out there. If the character is invoking that kind of feeling, then yes, I mean, that tells you that the actor is doing a damn good job in their role. So if Acosta is invoking the sense where people don't like her or people are really not enjoying her character, then yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, that's the mark of an actor or an actress doing a good job in their role. It's not always easy to play an antagonist kind of character or a villain kind of character. Those characters aren't always the easiest to play. And we've seen how it can really backfire in the public sometimes for certain people. Like, again, the actor who played Joffrey, when Game of Thrones was on, he was receiving, the actor, Jack Gleason himself, was receiving death threats left and right over his performance. And it got pretty serious to the point where he just completely quit acting. He quit. He left Hollywood. He was done acting. He went back to stage theater acting. He wanted nothing to do with the film business for, I think he stayed away for like 5-6 years before he eventually returned. But yeah, I mean, he got tons of death threats for his performance as King Joffrey. I mean, and again, if nothing else, it showcases that he was damn good in his role.
Had a punchable face, right?
Yeah, very punchable face, indeed. Very punchable face. But yeah, it shows that some, again, playing a villain isn't always the easiest, but when an actor or an actress can invoke that kind of feeling, then yeah, they're doing a really good job. I felt the same way about Jade, annoyed, but now I enjoy him. He makes me laugh. Yeah, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people probably felt, similar, that maybe they were annoyed by Jade in the beginning and then started to like him. Jade just reminded Jeremy of home. Jade is nostalgic for him. Maybe there's a little bit of that as well. Maybe subconsciously there's a little bit of that as well. Lily, you might be right. But yeah, no, I like Jade. I think Jade's absolutely hilarious. He's definitely my favorite character. I mean, I love his one-liners, his funny dialogue. I mean, even if it's just him throwing darts in a crazy manner.
The immediate question is, how do we get home, right? How do we get out? How do we get out of here? Because unless we know where here is, we can't get out of here. It's like this. It's like hitting a bullseye with your eyes closed, right? You're just throwing them blind. You don't even fucking know where the fucking target is. Maybe it's over here. I don't know. Maybe it's just like with that one. Whoa. Throwing it. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough with Aosta though, because I have a feeling that they're going to try to turn it around. And somebody else says the same thing. They think
Make them
Mon,
sympathetic.
says I feel like Aosta will have a turnaround in the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, Joffrey didn't have a redemption. Ramsay Bolton didn't have a redemption. Now, again, I don't feel like Aosta's reached those levels of being hated either.
Not yet.
But we're just kind of, I think everybody, I mean, I can't say I think everybody's in a holding pattern. I think I'm in a holding pattern as far as her character. Waiting to see where they take her. I mean, is she going to be, you don't want to get a you don't want to get a screenshot of your words, because in season 4 she may become like almost like an agent of the Man in Yellow. She might be leading the evil faction against the Boyd faction. You never know. I mean, what direction are they going to take it? I could see it happen. Like, I mean, having watched The Stand fairly recently, you see, like, there'll be these like good deities and evil deities, and they'll have their human agents act on their behalf, and that kind of stuff. And something like that entirely. I mean, something along those lines might manifest itself here in season 4. Again, man, there's so many possibilities, so many directions that they could go with even the skeleton of the story that they have now, that they can still take it in wildly different directions. And I'm sure over the course of the next year and change, we're going to see plenty of different fanfics in Reddit and in our Discord and stuff, where entirely wild stories are written using the skeleton of what From has provided us thus far in 3 seasons. So it might actually in any one of which might be dead on accurate, or might be completely nothing like what the showrunners have planned. So yeah, it'll certainly be interesting which way they go. And Aosta is one of those characters where we don't know enough about, because she'll be argumentative and confrontational in one scene, and then the next scene she'll be out there, pledging to get to the bottom of who killed Tilly. It's like, well, wait a minute, what is she? Is she bad? Is she good? Is she something in between? Yeah, we don't know yet. Need more info.
Need more. Yeah, it's stand by and wait for further instructions when it comes to Aosta, because she, like you said, she goes from one extreme to the other, and you never really know which Aosta you're going to get. And I very much thought that we were going to see Aosta and Boyd butting heads over the whole Tilly murder. I was fully expecting them to kind of have 2 totally different approaches to solving this murder, but I was very surprised when I kind of saw them working together. So yeah, she kind of surprises you. You never know which Aosta you're going to get in any given scene. So yeah, it's one of those things where I agree. We kind of just have to wait and see where her character goes, but she's definitely not one of my favorites. Pam Jam says, I think my favorite character is Victor. He is definitely the strongest minded person in the town. And Victor's definitely in my top three. I would say. If I had a top three, it would be Jade, Boyd, and then Victor. Those are probably my top three favorite characters. And if I'm talking pure just acting performance, I might put Scott McCord in the number one spot. As great as Harold Perrineau is, I feel like Scott McCord, the character that Scott McCord is playing, the character of Victor, it's a lot harder to play a character like that than it is to play a character like Boyd is playing. So I kind of try to take that into consideration just in terms of pure acting skill. What Scott McCord has managed to do with the character of Victor, and you guys have heard me harp on this millions of times up until this point, or at least anybody who's been here for a while has. I think he's phenomenal. I think the character of Victor that Scott McCord has crafted has been nothing short of absolute brilliance in terms of everything that encompasses the character of Victor. Not just the dialogue, not just the mannerisms, not just the little twitches. It's everything. It's the way he kind of fully immerses himself into this character, into this mind of Victor. And he very much does come off like he's still a 10-year-old kid trapped in an adult body. So just in terms of pure acting skill, I think Scott McCord is one of, if not the best actor on the show. But this is also another interesting one as well. Seeing where we are now, just based on only the characters that are left, not characters that have been killed off, just based on only the characters that are left. Who is your favorite character? And I'd love to get everybody's opinion on this, both in the chat and you on the panel as well, Ravener. Who is your favorite character? Who is everybody's favorite character? Who is your least favorite character? And what is one character that you guys think will definitely survive? When all is said and done, when From is completely done, no matter, whether they have 4, 5, 6, however many seasons they do end up going to do, what is the one character that you guys think will definitely survive everything and make it out? Ravener, what about you? Oh, Ravener maybe fell out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went on a whole monologue without my mic on, which was lovely.
No worries.
No.
What about you? Favorite,
yeah.
least favorite, and then who will survive? What are your three picks? And they could be all the same, maybe.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it would be a short putt to say Harold Perrineau and of course, like you said, Scott McCord. They anchor every scene that they're in, and they do a fantastic job. But I'm going to throw my and this is going to be no surprise to anybody, but I like Ricky He, man. He's been so solid. And again, he's not always a main character, but he's really, every scene that he's in, he's been pretty solid. He's shown the emotional range better probably than most of the people. I know, Victor had some breakdown, the crying and the anger. I didn't really get a lot of so Kenny, like when he's been angry and when he's been like just tragically broken, like when he was screaming to his mom from outside, and some of those scenes, especially in early on in season 3, really put him to the forefront for me as far as the actor, as far as the character goes. And I think you may be right. I think he does have a better than 50-50 odds of making it through to the end. I was looking at Ricky's filmography, and he's been doing this since about 2016, so he's got a little bit of but it was stuff like whenever you have a number by your name, it's like Colony House resident number 4. That's not really a major role, and most of his was like patron number 1, pizza delivery guy, puking resident. He was on Wayward Pines as puking resident.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to go back and watch that and see if I can spot him. I don't remember him from that. But yeah,
Orderly,
it's probably an extra.
Yeah, Orderly number 2. So this might be one of the first chances. Yeah. But let's see. Then my least favorite. Oh man.
Yeah. At least for me anyway. It's always a little tougher to pick a least favorite.
Yeah, and I'd want to have the ding. I know I'm gonna miss somebody. A year ago it would have been a no-brainer. It would have been like Marielle guaranteed, because nobody likes the junkie character. Nobody, and it's just like okay. Would it be Acosta? Not so much. Fatima got very, very interesting, and then got very, very uninteresting. By the end, but the less powerful she got, or the more whiny and just crying about everything, that she became less interesting. Boy, oh boy. No, you know what? Yeah, I still don't like Julie. I think Julie is weak in everything, and I don't want to say it's the actress, but she's kind of weak in everything. She was the petulant teen. She was kind of a bitch to Jim last season, and when you get a character like that, and now suddenly she's going to be a major component to the rest of the story because of her story walking ability. It's almost like, it's like I kind of like cringe, within my soul, because I'm like, oh fuck, now there's no chance they're going to kill her off. That was what, that was part of why I would tolerate her existence, was, in the hopes that eventually she would, they would kill her. And now that she's not going to be killed off. So it's like, so I guess we're going to see a lot more of Julie and her wonderful acting. Great. And her ugly cry and her ugly scream. So yeah, I don't like Julie. That should have been a whole lot easier. I was probably suppressing her existence in my brain, just so I didn't have to think of it.
Totally fine. Totally fine. And again, everybody's welcome to, to like or dislike any character they want. That's what's fun about these discussions. I'm sure the answers will vary. But no, I mean, yeah, of course, your reasons are just as valid as anybody else's, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll throw in a hot take here and there, and then definitely survive. I think it'll be Ethan. I think I don't see him that they're gonna. I don't see him killing another little kid, so I think Ethan's pretty safe.
Ethan, okay. Ethan, yeah. He's. I mean, next to Kenny, he's probably another one that I think will probably survive the whole thing. But yeah, something about Kenny though. I feel like he is. I feel like Kenny's gonna last, and it seems like I might not be the only one. B. Morgan also a vote for Kenny. Yo, also a vote for Kenny as well. Love it. Ethan, we got another one. Ethan's in top of best chats for me as well. Ethan very well. Just as Ravener pointed out, I don't see them killing him off. At least I just don't see it. I mean, anything's possible on a show like this, but I think Ethan is as safe as anyone else. Henry is the only one who asked about the motel. Very true. Ethan is my favorite. He makes the show more lovable. Awesome, Mon. Glad you like Ethan. That is great. Victor, Jade, Boyd, and Sarah. And you can't go wrong with any one of those characters. Again, Victor, Jade, and Boyd, those are definitely my 3 top favorite. If I were to do a top 5 favorite, I think Sarah would probably crack the top 5. It would probably be those 4 and Kenny. I think that's probably my top 5 favorite characters, with Donna coming in a very close 6. But yeah, that's a lineup right there that I can get behind. Absolutely. And you wonder why Tilly is so happy to be in the town. She dances with happiness coming to from. Yeah, that was always a big red flag to a lot of us when Tilly first arrived. But now that Tilly has been killed off and her character wasn't revealed to be any more meaningful than anything else, I feel like the dance was just something they threw in there just to throw it in. I don't think there's any deeper meaning behind it now. I wasn't sure at first. But now I'm just, I don't think there's any deeper meaning. And of course, StreamYard loves to jump on me. I need Tabitha gone next season, 100%, says Ando. No, Ando wants Tabitha gone. Well, Tabitha did have a lot of, there were a lot of people that were pointing out some of Tabitha's unique dialogue methods, if nothing else, with all of the no's. Those did start to. It got to a point where when we were doing the rewatch the other day, I think it was FaZe and everybody else in the chat. They were literally counting how many times Tabitha said no, and it was an astronomical amount. So yeah, Tabitha has drawn the attention, at the very least, of some very attentive fans, pointing out some of her strange, repetitive dialogue that she tends to. The most annoying tend to make it far, and that's a very good point, B. Morgan. I mean, unless you're Dale, the annoying do tend to make it a little bit further than everybody else. It's one of those tropes, isn't it? Where I mean, you can be a very despicable character, and you can be clumsy and make awful decisions, and 9 times out of 10, that character is going to live while they get everybody around them killed. So yes, that very much is a trope that we see in a lot of the horror genre, where the annoying and clumsy and idiotic characters, sometimes they tend to last a little bit longer than everybody else, just because again they're getting everybody else around them killed. Yeah. What is Ellis even doing in the show, says Mond. Now if I had to pick a least favorite character, I think mine might be Ellis. I think I might be there with you, Mond. It's again, it's really easy to pick a favorite character. For me, it's always going to be Jade. It's always going to be Boyd. It's always going to be Victor. Like, those are my favorite characters. But picking a least favorite has always been a little bit more difficult, because I do genuinely enjoy pretty much the entire cast. There really isn't one character that I can point to and I say I absolutely hate this character. I don't really have any of those characters on From. But in terms of like characters that I definitely enjoy much more than others, yes, I would probably say Ellis is one of the characters that I probably enjoy the least. I'm just not a big Ellis fan. And maybe it's my bias, because I am a big Kenny fan. And I caught some flack for this last week when I brought it up, which was just kind of in jest, but kind of has a little bit of truth to it as well, where I believe Kenny is the better son. We see Boyd is very much has become a father to Kenny, a surrogate father, if you will. But when I look at how loyal Kenny is to Boyd and how he always has his back in every situation, even when his own son didn't have his back, part of me thinks that maybe Kenny might be the better son. But again, it's totally fine if everybody disagrees. That is totally cool. I know I'm probably in the minority in that opinion, but no. If I had to pick a least favorite character, again, I'd probably have to think on it a little bit deeper. But just off the top of my head now, after seeing that, yeah, I'd probably say Ellis is one of my more least favorite characters, or one of the ones I like. I like the least at the very at much. Um, yeah, and it looks like I'm not the only one. Kiwi Skirt, worse for me is Ellis, and Julie is annoying, but not as bad as Ellis. Looks like we got some other Ellis least favorites. Ellis and Fatima's love story, I can do without. Both hate it. Absolutely. I mean, I just I don't know why. I feel very similar. I'm just not a big fan of the Ellis and Fatima storyline. I feel like it started to get a little bit interesting in season 3 with this whole Fatima pregnancy, but it quickly kind of outwore its welcome, where it kind of started to feel very repetitive. And it wasn't really going anywhere until you finally get to that last episode. So yeah, I'm kind of similar. I'm not the biggest fan of Ellis and Fatima's love story that they have going on. I just don't. I just think it's one of the more not one of the most interesting storylines, I guess, for me anyway.
And it seems like after they had the reconciliation, and having just finished the season 1 rewatch, of course. And it may just be that they didn't write him well enough that they conveyed all the conflict that Ellis had to, because really it was just Ellis being mad at Boyd because he held Boyd responsible for shooting Abby, mainly for not listening. Ellis held Boyd responsible for not listening to him when he said that there's something going wrong with Mom, and Boyd's like, yeah, I'll talk to you later tonight, but I'm going to do this right now. Kind of, and it wasn't even like he put him off for days. He put him off till the end of the day, and it just happened to be at the end of the day was when Abby finally lost her shit and started shooting people. And when they had that nice reconciliation right before Boyd went on his journey into the woods, it seemed like they ran out of things to do with Ellis, and he's kind of been around, but almost like as an addendum to Fatima, in her storyline. but yeah, I guess they haven't really done a whole lot with him. They haven't treated him, treated the character right and given us any reason to care. He suffered a few injuries. I mean, the whole transfusion thing, that he was part of a plot line, but not really that important to it. He was always just kind of like somebody there to say something or have something happen to him, mainly that other people react to, but he isn't really doing much of anything. I think that's probably part of why, except every once in a while he'll pop up to argue with Boyd about something when they need him to, and Suzanne says he's irreplaceable. Oh no. I don't know if they're talking about Ellis though. I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like they haven't done a lot with Ellis or had a lot to do, a lot for him to do where people gave a shit about him. So yeah, I can definitely see him.
He's just not the most interesting character at the end of the day. I mean, and maybe he will become more interesting in season 4, depending on what kind of storyline they lay out for him next season. But yeah, I mean, I look at Ellis's storyline, and like you said, season 1 and had a little bit of an interesting aspect to it because you did have that schism between him and his father Boyd. And as the audience, you were naturally wondering, okay, what's going on there? What happened between Boyd and his son? Why are they so estranged? Why are they not living together? Why is there this tension between Boyd and his son? It was intriguing at the beginning of the show because we wanted to know. We wanted to learn more about these characters and how they found themselves in the setting that they are in when season 1 first begins, with the town being kind of completely split into 2 different factions. So it was intriguing in the beginning, but then, like you said, once we did get that answer, once they did resolve the Boyd and Ellis kind of conflict, yeah, it did seem like the rest of his character was just kind of floating and just going through the paces, where it was all kind of just him and Fatima lovey-dovey, worrying about Fatima, worrying about Fatima, worrying about Fatima. There wasn't much substance to Ellis's storyline after that reconciliation happened between him and Boyd. So yeah, it does seem like he's kind of just been going through the motions, biding his time. I know they tried to make Ellis and Fatima's storyline interesting this season with the whole pregnancy. And again, I think it started off very interesting. It just started to feel a little bit repetitive towards the end. But yeah, I think in terms of just having interesting places to take Ellis, it just seems like there's just not a lot of interesting places to take that character. He's not really involved in any of the supernatural stuff, so it's not like you can kind of all of a sudden just throw him into the thick of things the way they did with Julie. Even though Julie was kind of already starting to get into it with the whole cicada nonsense in season 2. But Ellis, he's been as far removed away from all of the supernatural goings on in Fromville. It would be very awkward to kind of just insert him into something supernatural now, to all of a sudden start giving him visions or something like that. It would feel a little bit weird. It would feel a little bit forced. So yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of interesting places to take Ellis's character. I think Ellis's character would probably be better served, or best served, narrative-wise, for being killed off. I mean, if we are continuing to go into this area where this place is trying to break Boyd, where Boyd is definitely at the center of attention when it comes to these monsters, and they very much want to break him down, what better way to deal a gut-wrenching blow to Boyd than to kill his son? Again, I feel like killing Ellis off would probably make him a more interesting character than keeping him on. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
Just my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I definitely could see it. And I mean, when Fatima was pregnant with what Boyd presumed to be his, grandchild, then she kind of, it raised her profile as far as a lever to use against Boyd. But yeah, at this point, really taking Ellis out would be the way to hurt him. I mean, taking out Tianchen, taking out a very close friend is one thing, but taking out your remaining family member, essentially, that is the nuclear option. And they didn't have a problem, wiping the Liu family off the map, with the exception of Kenny. So.
Yeah. And that's why I think Kenny's safe. And that's one of the main reasons why I think they won't actually kill Kenny off. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to kill Kenny's loved ones off. Like, there was some very interesting foreshadowing for even Christie's death in season 3, where Christy was saying, not over and over again, but she said it at least 2 times, where she's telling Kenny, hey, if anything were to happen to me, always know that you won't be alone. You still have Boyd. So it almost seemed like they were setting Christy up to eventually get killed, and kind of setting Kenny up to be able to deal with it when it does happen by her repeatedly telling him that. So I do think Kenny's going to be safe, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do start to see more loved ones of Kenny end up getting killed off. I think Christy and Boyd both might end up getting killed off by the time the series is over. But yeah, Bill says, I want to see more Bacta. And I think a lot of people did. And I'm one of them as well. I think Bacta was one of those kind of characters that didn't really get her due in season 2 when she was first introduced. So I think a lot of us were waiting for season 3 to come around so we could finally learn a little bit more about Bacta. Then season 3 came around and we got like 2 Bacta scenes in the entire season. And I get it. It's tough to kind of fit every character in when you have a giant cast like this on an ensemble show where you kind of have to focus on so many different characters. It's tough to give every character their kind of quote unquote due in terms of giving them proper screen time. There just isn't enough time. There just isn't enough minutes. There isn't enough hours in a season to give every single character a main storyline that they would want to give. And again, this is why I really enjoyed Lost and the whole 24 episode seasons that they would do. Yes, when they were doing 24 episodes a season, you would get an episode or 2 or even 4 that were straight up filler. But I would gladly take a few episodes of filler and all of the added extra character development that came with the 24 episode season, as opposed to just getting 10 episodes and really not being able to dive into a lot of these characters' backstories. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they have stated that we're not going to learn a whole lot about who these characters were before they arrived here in Fromville. And I think that's a bit of a mistake, personally. I think learning who these characters are, finding out who these characters were and what drove them before they arrived here in Fromville, I think that's a vital thing that we're going to be missing story-wise, because once you find out who these characters were before they arrived here, and now you find out who they are after being here, that's the only way you can kind of compare and contrast how much Fromville has changed these people. So I was a little bit disappointed when they said that they weren't going to dive into the characters' backstories a whole lot, because again, I feel like we're missing some really good character development there where we would actually be able to tangentially see how much this place has changed people for the better or for the worse. But it doesn't seem like we're going to get that because they're not diving into the characters' backstories. And again, it sucks only having 10 episodes. You just don't have enough time to cover everything.
Yeah, and when they gave Bacta the scene with Jade, where she actually kind of did give her backstory, that gave me hope that they might develop her as a character somewhat. And then she stepped almost. I mean, they put her almost in the background, almost on the same level as how Clara just appears, for a scene here and there, and then doesn't do a whole lot. And then they made Bacta the boss of the cafe or of the diner, and I thought, well, maybe they'll that'll be an introduction to her becoming more of an important character. It might secure her from dying though, because if they kill two, if this is the second person to take over the diner and then she ends up getting killed by the monsters, they ain't gonna get a third person to volunteer to run the diner. If everybody who becomes the boss of the diner dies, nobody's gonna volunteer. The third person isn't gonna volunteer.
Very true.
So I think Bacta might be safe.
I think she's safe for a little bit, and I think the whole diner thing, I do think that is them setting her up for a character arc, but it seems like they're setting that up for season 4, that they didn't flesh it out in season 3. Again, it just seemed like there maybe wasn't enough time. But yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you have these ensemble casts, when there's just tons of characters to get through and only 10 episodes to get through all of them. Some characters are going to be left out. And I think that's another reason why I think we're going to see a lot of deaths in season 4 as well. If 5 seasons is what they are truly planning? And that was our next one from Ray. Do you think the series will go beyond 5 seasons and spin-offs? That's a very interesting kind of debate that I've been wondering as well. It seems like we're not confirmation by any means, but we are hearing actors talk about them potentially aiming for 5 seasons in total. That seems to be the general running theory up until this point, until we see anything else that contradicts that. 5 seems to be what they're aiming for. So if there really is only 2 seasons left, then they don't have a lot of time. They really have 20 episodes left to cover all of these storylines, to wrap everything up in a nice, neat bow. That's going to take a lot of effort. And that's why I think we're going to see a lot of characters get killed off in season 4 and in season 5. I think season 4 in particular, though, is going to be the dark season. And I made this kind of reference in my video that I dropped earlier today, where if From was a movie trilogy, then seasons 3 and 4 would definitely be the dark middle installment of the franchise, with season 5 being the Return of the Jedi. But seasons 3 and 4 are very much the kind of Empire Strikes Back of the franchise, where you're in the middle part of the franchise. And this is usually when it's at its darkest, where our characters get tested the most, where they get brought all the way down to rock bottom before they eventually rise up again and defeat the evil that they're up against in the final act. And I definitely think that's where From is heading. I think season 4 is going to be incredibly dark. I think we are going to lose a ton of characters in season 4, and I think unfortunately they need to kill off a ton of characters. They simply have way too many characters to wrap every single storyline up in a nice, neat bow if they're only doing 5 seasons. So if they are planning 5, if that is kind of set in stone, then I imagine we are going to see a lot of characters get killed off in season 4, main characters and secondary characters. But will it go past 5? I have no idea. I suppose anything's possible. It's really up to the writers and MGM how many seasons they really need to kind of wrap this story up. And as far as spin-offs go, depending on where this ends, I would love to see a From spin-off if it was possible, if it was done by the same creative team. I wouldn't be opposed to a spin-off.
Yeah, and it's really going to hinge a lot on who they let live through season 5, because the same thing happened with like Firefly. When they finally did Serenity the movie, they killed off some major characters that a lot of the Firefly fans would have liked to have seen developed, and there was a lot of more story to be told for those characters. But killing them off puts a period at the end of that sentence, and then there is no more. That's the one question that I'd like to see it happen in season 4 and 5. We've noticed that you lose 14 people or 20 people or whatever it is, and then suddenly Donna said 14 people died. I think she said she buried 14 people and they're spread all over this hill. And then I think Bacta said 25 people was on the bus. So technically, I mean, because we work on the parity theory, like a bunch of people die, a bunch of people arrive, a few people die, a few people arrive. And how many are we up or down? I think technically we might have been up by, but then again, I think maybe 9 people died on the first night, or at least, it kind of got a little closer because a few of the 25 never even made it into the diner. Of course, Brian and Kelly both ended up dying as well. But if we've noticed that there's pretty close to parity as far as the ins and the outs of Fromville, the people there have to have noticed it as well. If people start dying, even if it's randos or just whatever, if people start dying in season 4 and not being replaced, that'd be another element that would be kind of interesting to show how things have changed. Because if it's always been that way, one person dies, one person arrives, 3 people die, 3 people arrive, or 3 people arrive, meaning that more people are going to die. I wonder though, it seemed like when the Matthews family and Jade and Toby arrived, Toby was in and then out in a big hurry. But at that point, I think only Megan and Lauren had died. They didn't know that Frank was going to die. So it's not like the entity knows ahead of time that that Frank was going to end up being, essentially self-sacrificing, or Eric, the guy that hung himself after the massacre. So that would have been another +1. I wonder if the people are going to start noticing, I've heard no references from anybody there noticing that, people come in, people go out. But they might start noticing if they're not getting replacements, or expecting replacements, and then the replacements don't come. Because we are down a few anyway, after we're still down from at the end of season 3, we're still down a few people.
Yeah, we would have been even if the 2 EMTs lived, but unfortunately the EMTs also got killed. And then with the added deaths of the few characters we got this season, yeah, we're down 2 or 3 characters, I believe, or we should have 2 or 3 arrivals if they're following that method anyway.
Which we are not even completely confirmed, but it just seems to be a trend. We're noticing a trend.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about that about the show in general, but that aspect of the show in particular, where it's not 100% confirmed, but there's clear kind of evidence at the very least pointing to something like that maybe being the case. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence where every single time we lose a character or multiple characters, a character or multiple characters ends up arriving not long after. Almost like Fromville is constantly being fed a steady supply of people, almost like they want a certain number of people in here at all times. But yeah, maybe we'll get that answered at some point, or even addressed. I mean, that's because, like you said, we as the audience, we have this really interesting bird's eye view where we see the entire board, but the characters in the actual show, they're not seeing everything we're seeing. They're very limited to only their point of view and what they experience or what they hear. So yeah, I think that'd be interesting if at some point we even hear the characters even talking about it, even just straight up saying, or mentioning in some way, if someone starts to notice at some point that when people die, new people arrive. But we haven't even heard people talk about it yet. We also got Cat Harlem for $9.99. I want Boyd to step away on his own. No vote needed. This will allow him to resolve some personal issues and figure some things out about the monsters so they can start being proactive versus reactive. Now, that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one. I would probably rather see Boyd step away of his own volition as opposed to getting forced out, especially after everything Boyd has done for this town. I mean, you think about the state this town was in before Boyd arrived here. It was not looking good. Like, this state was in the shape it was in was absolutely horrific. You had people dying every single night, like clockwork. And then Boyd comes around and he kind of single-handedly just whips this place into shape and turns it all of a sudden from a place where people can barely survive to a place where people can actually build some sort of life for themselves. And that is in large part thanks to Boyd and all of his efforts. So I think just based on everything he's done for the town, I would definitely agree with you. I would rather see him kind of step away on his own accord as opposed to kind of getting forced out with pitchforks and torches. So that. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the town kind of reacts to Boyd in season 4. If what Donna said is true, and there's already a part of the town that is starting to lose their faith in Boyd, how are they going to continue to respond to him when they find out about this Elgin incident? If they find out about the Elgin incident, if they find out that Boyd is, protecting Sarah when a lot of other people think she's still a killer. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances that could paint Boyd or could put Boyd in a very awkward position regarding the, his standing in the town. And then, of course, you have the psychological element to it as well. Season 3 was not easy for Boyd. This place was physically also, but mentally trying to just break him down every step of the way. They were throwing so much at Boyd to the point where it would easily break probably 9 out of 10 other people. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see not only how the town is reacting to Boyd in season 4. Will they continue to lose their faith in him? But how is Boyd going to react? How is he going to deal with some of this guilt that he's going to be feeling? How is he going to be dealing with all of the psychological torment that this town put him through in season 3, and that they will probably continue to put him through in season 4? So heading into this next season, I think Boyd's character is going to be very interesting to see the circumstances around him and how he is perceived, how he is met in this next season, because it could very well go either way. I could easily see him kind of stepping up to the plate, stepping out of this rut that he was in, kind of getting his quote unquote mojo back, as it were, and could just completely earning that faith, just completely earning the town's faith once again. Although I could also see it going the exact opposite way, where he continues to spiral. He continues to fall deeper and deeper into despair. And he does get closer and closer to actually breaking. And the town ends up seeing that, and they end up losing even more faith in him. So I could easily see it going either way with Boyd in season 4, but I can't wait to see which way it goes. I think it's going to go unfortunately, I think it's going to go the darker way. I think season 4 is going to be even harder on Boyd than season 3 was. But I also think he's going to rise up out of that rut in the 5th and final season and ultimately triumph. But season 4, I think, is going to be very dark for Boyd, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be strange though, because it's almost like they shot their wad with the "you're not gonna break me" thing in the run up to season 3 with Cowboy and you know, in the tension scene and everything like that. If to really bring Boyd low somehow in season 4, that would be where that would be where they'd want to emphasize how much they're going to break him, if they ultimately are going to you know, pull out all the stops to break him in season 4 to bring him to his lowest point. You know, it's kind of, and man, we didn't see, you know, if you'd have stopped us at episode 3 of season 3, we would have thought that Cowboy was going to be a major character. You know, boy, there's literally a new sheriff in town. He's filling in where Smiley left off, and you know, he's a talker, unlike Smiley, who's just menacing in his own way. And then poof, not a whole lot of anything. I think the nurse was in the second half of season 3. The nurse was more influential than Cowboy, which is kind of weird. I mean, that's another thing. If there's going to be you know, what we want to see in season 4 episode, figure out what they're going to do with Cowboy. I know that the whole at the end of season 2 and the run up to season 3, everybody, you know, there's like, what do you want to see in season 3? And mine and many other people's was make the monsters great again, because they really got away from the monsters. Well, they brought the focus right back onto the monsters in season 3, which was I think universally well received. I mean, everybody likes them as you know, the antagonist. I think if we had the same question for season 4, more of the same. Yeah, I mean, keep the monsters on the board, give them a lot of stuff to do, but also if you're going to introduce characters to the monsters, rather than just being, you know, different, the same character in a different costume, then do it. If you're going to make Smiley different than the nurse, different than Cowboy, then do a little more than that. Because at this point, really what we've seen, you know, Smiley had a few lines, like a few single lines, like when he talked to the elderly couple before he got them on the bus. Cowboy had some great, you know, he had some great lines with Boyd in the barn. And then, but prior to that, he really was just with his girlfriend, like when they were talking to Brian and Kelly in the tavern, right? They were them, or no, it was Fatima.
That was the young one.
Yeah, it was Fatima.
Fatima and Ellis outside of the sheriff's station, where you had Smiley and the monster that a lot of people thought was Donna's sister there for a while,
Yeah,
from outside.
I thought so too, till AI told me it's not. But I'm face blind, as you know. I'm face blind, so I can't tell anything. I would be a terrible police officer. I would be a terrible anything that required like identifying people.
No, I can totally understand why people were making that connection, because when you look at the picture of the actress who plays Donna's sister and you look at that monster actress, there's a clear similarity there. I mean, you could totally understand why people might think they are the same person, because they do. They look a lot alike. So I don't think that was a far-fetched one, in my opinion. But yeah, and as Amber Violet brings up a very interesting thing that I thought we were definitely going to get some kind of answer for this season. I want an explanation for the dog and what it represents. And I think that was a big thing coming out of season 2. Like, if we remember how season 2 ends, it ends with Boyd successfully breaking the music box, stopping the melody. He comes back out of the dungeon that he was in. And of course, we hear the famous line, "You don't break me." But then 2 seconds later, just before the season ends, we see the dog show up. And it looks like the dog is about to lead Boyd somewhere. And that's how season 2 ends. At least that's how Boyd's story arc ends in season 2, with him following the dog somewhere. So when season 3 started, I'm like, all right, I cannot wait to see, where is this dog leading Boyd? What exactly are these dogs a representation of? How come they show up and help Boyd sometimes out of the blue? How come they were threatening towards Jim and the Matthews family? Like, what side are these dogs on? They're clearly not normal dogs. They've been in this town for 40, 50 plus years, so they're clearly not normal, alive, breathing dogs. So yeah, I was very much looking forward to getting a little bit of an answer as to what kind of role these dogs were going to play. Are they some kind of spirit guide? Are they some kind of spirit animal that helps people get to where they need to go? I think that could have been a simple explanation for them to kind of weave in there, and maybe they will at some point. But yeah, that was a little bit of a disappointment for me. I mean, when we saw season 2 end with the dog taking off into the woods and Boyd seemingly following it, I was very disappointed that season 3 didn't start with Boyd following that dog somewhere in the woods. Now, I know we had a little bit of a time jump in between seasons 2 and 3, not much, just a 3-day time jump to account for the 3 days that Tabitha was unconscious. But yeah, I was a little bit bummed. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit bummed that we didn't get to see where that dog was leading Boyd, and why we didn't really learn anything about the dogs yet.
The boy in white.
And maybe we will at some point. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe
it
we
is
will
strange.
learn,
Yeah, they had a tendency to do that though. They'd leave us with a great cliffhanger, and then I mean they did the same thing when Fatima was chowing down on Nikki's blood, and then cut. You know, like wow, you know that scene ended. Can't wait to see where it picks up the next time. Oh no, it didn't. You know, it just there the next day. Something completely different. The next time we saw Fatima, it was entirely unrelated. Unrelated scenes. Like, okay, you didn't see finger holes in Nikki's side. Like, wait a minute, that was a bullet hole. Yeah, that was a bullet hole. It wasn't a put a whole hand in there.
I don't remember Nikki getting bit by the monsters. Yeah, no, it would have been kind of funny. You see a little blood trail kind of leading to Fatima's room or some shit, kind of busting her there. But no, it's the show does do that every once in a while, don't they? Where they'll kind of end us off with a kind of an interesting cliffhanger, and then you'll expect the next episode or the next season even to kind of pick up right where that left off. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But yeah, one of those things. Let's see what else you guys are saying. The monsters had worshipful faces when Smiley was born again. They did look, I mean, you can see how happy Cowboy Monster was in particular. Cowboy Monster and the Donna sister monster as well. Like, they were super fucking happy when Fatima was giving birth, or when the pod was growing, when we were actually seeing Smiley actually get born after Fatima had already given birth to him. You look at everybody around and they are just super excited, like just big old smiles, bigger smiles than you really see from a lot of these guys and gals. But yeah, something about Smiley's birth, they were very much enjoying it. very much enjoying the birth of Smiley. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of role Smiley is going to play as well. I mean, here's a character who was a huge fan favorite, where everybody just loved the Smiley monster, and for good reason. He was super freaking creepy. He had one of those faces where kind of every time Smiley Monster was on screen, he just had that kind of unsettling feel. That's kind of the best way I can describe it anyway, is this feeling unsettled every time you look at this just creepy ass freaking smile. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Like, where is Smiley going to go from here? I don't know. I mean, it's again, I'm still, yeah, I'm still questioning, or I'm at least a little bit questionable in terms of how they brought Smiley back and why they brought Smiley back. Like, I just, it doesn't feel like this was something they were planning the whole time. It just, I don't know. I get the feeling that bringing Smiley back was maybe one of those things that might have been shoehorned in, or at the very least wasn't fully planned from the very beginning. I don't think when they killed Smiley, they had any intention of bringing him back. I do think that was a later development. And I think some of the surrounding evidence points to that. I mean, when we look at the circumstances under which Smiley did come back, we find out that Fatima was feeling the effects of her being pregnant before Smiley even got killed. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy there. And again, it leads me to believe that this whole Smiley rebirth wasn't something they were planning from the very beginning. I do think this was something they developed after Smiley got killed. Now, I don't mind. I mean, I'm very glad Smiley is back. Ultimately, he is the freaking coolest monster. He's the OG of OG monsters at the end of the day. So I am glad Smiley is back. I just feel like the circumstances under which they did bring him back could have been fleshed out a little better.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like he was like Greta says, he's a fan favorite. Like they might have heard the popular demand, because but that would have also presupposed that they knew that they were going to have Fatima be pregnant, but they didn't know exactly where they were going to go with it. And maybe somebody in the writers' room said, "Hey, why don't we just make Smiley come out of Fatima instead of having a demon baby or some other kind of thing, or maybe a normal baby, normal appearing baby that may have." But that would have probably taken longer. If Fatima had a regular baby that may or may not have had supernatural aspects to it, or kind of like the Damien kind of thing, that probably would have taken too long to develop. And I think that might have been why they dismissed it, because nobody's going to want to have a infant on set and have to, because normally with infants you'll have 2 or 3 of them just in case one's feeling fussy on a given day, and it doesn't seem like they want to budget for that kind of stuff. And then plus it will take way too long if they know that they only have 2 seasons to develop that into something, unless they do like a Full House where a kid goes from being a toddler to a like a grade schooler, instantly, just so they can have lines of dialogue. So I don't know, maybe and David seems to disagree. David thinks it was planned the whole time. I think they kind of had to do it.
But it wasn't organic in any way. It was not an organic way to bring him back. It wasn't. It did seem like it was a little more fan derived, and they'll never admit that, obviously. But I don't think, it's just me personally, but I definitely don't think this was planned from the beginning.
But now they better do something with him, because it's one thing to bring him back, but again, he reappears. I thought it was an Easter egg when they had Smiley killing Miranda in Tabitha's flashback. I was like, oh wow, they held him back. They didn't give him any lines of dialogue, so they didn't have to put him in the cast list. So it really was a surprise for episode 9 that we got to see, all the way to episode 9 of season 3, that we got a cameo, essentially, of a one scene cameo of Smiley. Now come to find out that he's a full on he's full on back in back in the scene.
Better
but they
worse,
gotta do something with him. They got to start doing something with them. and I'm going to go right back to like what I was saying earlier. If you're going to
Do you
give,
think they brought him back to give him that main monster role?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if they'd spent a couple episodes and critical scenes, they could have given those scenes to anybody. If they really were completely interchangeable, then they didn't have to give Cowboy the forefront. They could have had Mechanic do it one scene. They could have had Professor do it one scene. They could have had Cowboy do it one scene. If they were trying to emphasize that they are essentially a hive mind or essentially interchangeable, and it doesn't matter which character it is. The Milkman got a few scenes. He could have done something, here or there. Granny, they are trying to differentiate them a little bit, if by nothing else than the costumes. So bringing Smiley back, I wonder though, how are they going to, they're going to have to talk about the origins of them anyway, regardless of what costume they have. They're going to have to talk about, we know what the origin, we know the origin story, but we still don't know a lot about how, they got the costumes that they're wearing currently. And are they different, or should we even care about them? Robert Saunders says Pinkner and Griffin admitted they didn't know how to bring back monsters back, but hinted the monsters were always intended to live forever. Okay, well that makes sense.
That I buy a little bit more, but yeah, the whole Smiley rebirth, that I do not think this was planned from the beginning. Maybe like Robert says, maybe they were always had fiddling with an idea, maybe. But again, the circumstances under which it happened, considering Fatima was feeling being pregnant before Smiley even got killed, that very much tells me that this was not fully planned out. They might say that it is, and I know that they've mentioned it in interviews that they were always planning to do this, but I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I think maybe they might not be telling the full truth there, which writers are very well known to do. Writers don't always reveal everything, and they don't always reveal the correct information. But no, it's just
I think they're going to memory hold that
too.
I think they're going to gloss over
all the way planned.
Yeah, I think they're going to gloss over that little discrepancy. They're probably not going to address it ever, and the only people that will be questioning it are people that really pay attention to the show, so they may never get to that part. But I think you're exactly right. It wasn't like she was already pregnant and then Smiley like possessed the fetus or co-opted it or something. I think it was always going to be a baby of some kind. And you really have to, I mean, only when you're really paying attention to the sequence of events in the show do you realize that, oh, wait a minute, it was when Ellis was getting the blood transfusion that and Christy and they were all in the clinic, that Fatima brings up, oh yeah, by the way, I'm pregnant. So yeah, she was already, which is kind of strange too, because we still don't know exactly by who it was that told her that she couldn't get pregnant or that it was impossible. We don't know, any of that. We've gotten.
I just wanted to say goodnight to Kat Harlem, who's signing off. Thank you so much, Kat Harlem, for participating in the discussion tonight. You've been super supportive with the super chats. I cannot thank you enough. And I hope you're having a good holiday season. I hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday. And thank you again for hanging out with us tonight. And thank you for being part of the discussion. You had some really good, thought-provoking questions, I thought. So thank you for hanging with us for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just saw you leaving.
No, yeah, I get it. Absolutely. Yeah, but that's what. So I wonder exactly how much. Thanks, Lieutenant Hughes, for getting me back on the point, because Fatima had intimated a couple of times that it was impossible for her, that she knew somehow, but we don't know who it was that told her. If it was like she physically lacked the parts. I mean, obviously she didn't. If she's she had, but then again, nothing about that pregnancy was normal in any way. Especially like as rapidly as Smiley grew in her. Yeah, it was possible she was sterile. I was wondering, but they didn't really go into exactly what medically, what
was wrong
medical
with her.
condition she had, who exactly it was that told her that, how was it certain, but she was very certain of it. And
she was certain. She seemed pretty certain anyway, but how did she arrive to that conclusion? There was a lot of theories going around, like she had hysterectomy and stuff like that, but it was really just kind of theories, really, with nothing we really knew definitively, I guess.
Because both times that she mentioned it, that scene was abruptly interrupted. She mentioned it to Donna, and then Donna started cackling about, it's a miracle, and it's like, okay. Like, what the hell? And maybe they'll just leave it dangling. They'll leave it wide open and never resolve it.
Yeah, maybe, and I could totally see that being the case, where maybe they leave some things like a little bit ambiguous, where they hint towards some explanations, but don't full on give us the explanations to every single little thing. I definitely see that being the case with at least a few of these mysteries, maybe maybe some of the smaller ones. I could definitely see them again leaving some certain things a little bit ambiguous. Let me catch up on this. We got some awesome stuff here in the chat, and again, big thank you for everybody for joining us this evening. You guys are absolutely killing it. We got don't even worry about it for $10. Thank you so much. Don't even worry about it. I don't see a question though. Don't even worry about it. If you are still here, my friend, if you have a specific topic or a specific question or anything you want to talk about, please by all means at me and throw it into the chat. I always feel bad when people give an awesome super chat like this and there's not a question attached to it. I always want to give people their money's worth, But yeah, don't even worry about it. Thank you so much for the 10, my friend. But if you do have a specific topic or a specific question or anything you want to talk about, please let us know in the chat, and I will definitely bring that up as well. We also have LT, who's been a member for 23 months now. Holy cow, LT.
Amazing.
Wow,
yes.
That's the only one that's even coming close to rivaling you, Ravener.
Yeah, he's got to be a month one guy. So yeah, that's there's something to be said for it, man.
Yeah, LT's awesome. LT's been, even way back in the day before this channel was like an actual proper channel, and we were kind of only doing our little comic book streams that we were doing. LT's been here since day one. Awesome friend, super supportive of LT's support, and it's awesome to still see him here all these years later. And thank you, my friend. LT also has a really good head, really good mind for From. And where these characters are going. So thank you, my friend. Very much appreciate you. 23 months. That is nothing to sneeze at. Cat Holland for another $4.99. The resolution for everyone is getting back to the real world. Therefore, none of the main characters need to die before ending the series. Yeah, ultimately, that's the goal, right? Let's see which of these characters can get to the real world and how many of them will ultimately survive to get there. Again, I definitely think there is going to be a handful of characters that will make it to the end, survive, and get out. But again, getting out of Fromville isn't the whole objective, because we've seen what happens when people do leave Fromville. They just get pulled right back in, like Tabitha's case. So I think there's something specific that they need to do before they leave. I don't think it's going to be as simple, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but I don't think it's going to be just as simple as finding the quote-unquote door and leaving. It's just not going to be that easy. There's something that they need to do here. There's a quest that they need to complete, and I do think that's why we get that line from Ethan very early on in the series. Right at the beginning of season 1, we hear Ethan talking about how this is a quest and how everybody has a part to play. And the closer you get to the end of the quest, that's when it gets the scariest.
That's what this is, the quest. And everyone has a part to play. Sometimes the quest can be scary, and when it gets close to the end, that's when it gets really scary.
And I think ultimately that's where the show is heading. I almost feel like that line from Ethan was a kind of a sort of blueprint in a sense for how the whole series was going to play out. And the writers have kind of said there are hints at the beginning of the show that kind of hint as to how the story is going to play out. And I definitely think that is one of those hints that they were talking about, that line from Ethan. I think that's almost a direct allegory for how the show is going to play out. And that's why I think heading into season 4, if they truly are only doing 5 seasons, I definitely think season 4 is going to be their darkest season yet. Things are going to get a lot darker and a lot scarier before they eventually triumph in the 5th and final season. But no, I mean, that's kind of where I see it going. But in terms of who's going to make it to the end is going to be very interesting to see. I definitely don't think they all will. I think a big portion of our characters are going to get killed off. And I think we'll see a very small handful of our original cast members, like the original cast from season 1, like the OGs of the cast. I think we're going to see very few of them actually survive the entire show and make it out. I think Kenny will be one of them. Like as you guys were bringing up earlier, Ethan is definitely a good candidate to be another one that will probably survive everything. But other than that, man, a lot of these characters, most of these characters, I'm expecting to get killed off. I don't think the majority of them are going to live. I think we'll lose more than that survive, for sure.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anywhere near as many survivors as there are characters that die. But
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. And when you divide it up between the seasons, I definitely see Boyd dying in season 5. Presumably towards the end, because there isn't going to be much of a show without Boyd, essentially. But I can see Christy going. She would be probably my number one bet for season 4 death.
Okay, yeah, Christy. I think Christy's going to be going in season 4. Unfortunately, it's not something I want to see, but unfortunately, I hate even speaking breath into it. But I definitely get the feeling that Henry is going to die in season 4. I don't want it to happen, but I feel like their storyline, the story arc that Henry and Victor have gone through in season 4 has been it's been a great storyline to start with. Don't get me wrong, like it's really been a really good storyline, but I feel like they have not run its course, but I feel like they have finally got to that place where they understand one another, where they are kind of building that father-son relationship. And as soon as that ground becomes stable, that is when they pull the rug out from underneath you. So after the incredible journey that Henry and Victor went through in season 4, everything from the phenomenal reunion scene, probably still to this day one of the best scenes in From history, is that reunion scene between Victor and Henry. And then you get that really great scene between them in the finale as well. All of these really kind of gut punch moments we got between Victor and Henry, and just the phenomenal acting performances of Scott McCord and Robert Joy. After all of that, after how far they have eventually come, after they have kind of finally started to develop that relationship where they're not just 100% awkward around each other like they were pretty much for the entire season, where they just didn't really know how to approach each other. Now that they are finally getting comfortable with each other, I do think Henry is ultimately going to get killed off.
Hey.
It's okay. Everything's okay.
Get home. I didn't know how to get home. It's okay. It's okay.
what can you say? I mean, just incredible acting performance from both of these gentlemen, and I must say, Victor and Henry, they definitely left us with quite a few gut punches this season in terms of that just emotional roller coaster of a ride that these two characters went on. Now that season 3 does end with Victor and Henry kind of, again, they're on solid ground now. They're finally approaching each other in a way where they're starting to get to know each other, where it's not just that weird, awkward tension that you can cut with a knife. Now that they are in a better place, again, I hope I'm wrong, but I definitely think Henry's going to get killed off in season 4.
Yeah,
But what
yeah. I
about you
mean,
guys?
they don't
You
have
think Henry's
anywhere. I
going
mean,
to?
yeah. I mean, now that that's resolved, what are they going to
Yeah,
do with him? He's just another
exactly,
extra character. He's an excess.
exactly.
It's scary. It's not a good place to be in Fromville, being that excess character.
It's not a good one. Yeah, let me catch up on the rest of
Yeah, yeah. We got a backlog. I know.
yeah, we're a little backlogged. I'm going to catch up on all of them right now. LT Hughes is for $2. Rumor says you wear Smiley's boxers, Jeremy. Care to comment? Oh, man. Yeah, you put me on the spot there, LT. Putting me on the spot. Do I wear Smiley's boxers? Shit. Not a question I ever thought I'd ever have to actually answer. But no, unfortunately, I am not wearing Smiley's boxers. I don't know where that rumor started. I don't know where that um, slander of my character began. But no, I am not wearing Smiley's boxers. Whoever started that rumor, they're 100% not right, and I'm not lying. I
Right.
promise.
No, I can see smiley
Promise you
face
cannot.
boxers. Yeah, smiley face boxers, maybe. But you drop your drawers and you got smiley boxers on, you're celibate for for a while.
Yeah,
There
good luck.
nobody's
Good
gonna want.
luck.
Yeah, nobody's gonna want to see that mug, that smiley mug in
I
your.
promise I do not have Smiley boxers with this image on them. Promise. Promise I don't. It's not a thing. It's a rumor. It's innuendo. It's a false statement. But thank you, LT, for asking. I am happy to clarify. We got Robert Saunders for 10. Thank you so much, Robert. I think the rope, tarot cards, and Smiley Rebirth was part retcon and a nod to fan fiction / theories. Griffin admitted that he loves reading the various from Reddits, and it definitely seems like they do. I mean, there were some very clear scenes in season 3 in particular that did seem like they were pulled directly out of popular from fan theories. Like the talisman, for instance. We saw in season 3, Boyd brings up the possibility as to whether or not a talisman can be used to trap a monster inside a structure and not just keep them out of a structure. And I mean, that's been something that we have been talking about since season 1, literally since season 1, when the first season came out. And you can check my backlog of videos. When season 1 came out, I actually did a video on this way back, and it was just a little tinfoil hat theory video. Me putting forth a possibility in which the talismans could be used to trap a monster. Again, very tinfoily video, but it was just a fun topic that was very popular in the fandom at that point. It certainly was not my own idea. I wasn't the only one who thought of it. It was definitely a popular fan theory that was already very well established. So I just kind of gave my take on the popular fan theory. And now here we are, 2 seasons later, we're seeing that exact same concept be thrown right into the show. And when Boyd did raise up that talisman and he asks Ellis, maybe we can use one of these to trap a monster. I instantly you kind of just instantly knew that this was something that the writers must have known was a very popular fan theory since very early on. So yeah, when John Griffin mentions that he keeps a close eye on fan theories, I 100% believe him, because it looks like we're seeing him again incorporate some of that stuff into the actual script, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of I think it's kind of interesting that he leans on the fandom every once in a while for inspiration and to maybe come up with some interesting stuff. I think that's kind of interesting. But yeah, you can definitely tell. That they as a whole are keeping a close eye on some of the more popular fan theories. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some other small little winks and nods to some of these more popular fan theories. So yeah, that makes sense. definitely makes sense for sure. We got Wall St. Tech for 567. Thank you so much, Wall St. Tech. The scary thing, Mr. Smiley has no special effects. Yeah, that's what's cool about Smiley. I mean, we saw Smiley in season 2 have 1 degree of special effects during the bus scene. When Smiley hops on the bus and he goes to the back of the bus and he kills the old couple. That was one of the only scenes where we see like a full-on CGI version of Smiley. But for the most part, most of what we see for Smiley is either his regular face or his monster face, which is one big giant prosthetic. That's not CGI. That is an actual real practical effect and a mask that they put on the actor. And fun fact, in season 2, when Smiley turned into his monster form on the bus, that was actually the first time in the entire series that we saw one of the monsters in monster form that kept their hair. One of the things that the show had done up until that point, every time we saw a monster turn into monster form, they always seemed to be bald and have no hair. Smiley was the first monster to have hair in monster form. So yeah, just a useless from fact, I guess you could say. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. Again, he's back now, and again, I'm glad he's back. I think again the circumstances under which he was brought back were a little questionable, but I am glad that Smiley is back. I think he's the coolest monster. He's such a unique and profound part of the history of this show. Like when you think about From years later down the road, when From is done and over and it's had its last season and it's completely done, and we're years later, Smiley is always going to be synonymous with this show. He just is. He just has that look. Anytime someone thinks about this show, I imagine they're probably going to picture that freaking smiling grin not long after. He's synonymous with the show of From up until this point. So it's going to be interesting to see him come back. What capacity are they going to use him in? Will we see Smiley step into that role where he is the kind of main monster, similar to how we thought the cowboy monster was going to be this season, but didn't really end up being? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they use Smiley. I'm looking forward to at least see what they do with him, if nothing else.
Yeah, right. So we'll see if they give him a job, if they give him a role, to do something. I think he's doing the horror circuits now, and you can make an entire life off of doing horror show convention circuits and stuff. But
that's a role he'll be able to go to cons for and do special guest appearances probably for the rest of his life. Like he really struck gold with that role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at what's his name? Mark Hamill. He's been dining out on one role for freaking 50 years.
Very true. Very true. Yes, it's the only role he's known for, really.
Philippine pesos.
Yeah.
Oh, Mondo's
it is Philippine pesos. I think I might have been found out, unfortunately. Yes. I mean, I promise, though, I am not wearing Smiley's boxers. I promise that is not the case. But I might be tipping my hand a little bit here. I think I'm being found out. But yes, we got Bond for 250 Filipino pesos. Wow, that is incredibly generous. Thank you so much, Bond. I heard that we are getting to see the story of the original town and its people on season 4. Means we will see how the sacrifice was done, but we won't see much of the current cast. Are you excited for that? I've heard some of those rumors, and I'm not 100% sure how true they are. From what I know about what's going on right now is they are actively writing season 4 right now, and they don't have all of the details fleshed out. Like they're actively writing season 4 right now. So I have seen some of those rumors out there that we're not going to see the original cast much in season 4. I don't think that's the case. I don't know how much stock I put in those rumors. I mean, they could be accurate, maybe, but I just don't think that's the case. I do think we will get a glimpse of the original timeline of that original parents, when the original Jade, the original Tabitha, the original timeline that started all of this off. I definitely think we're going to get a healthy glimpse of it in season 4. They have to at some point. I mean, they have to show the origin of this town, the proper origin, and not just through exposition through Fatima. They need to actually show us what happened back then. And I do think they will show us that in season 4, but I think it'll be a mix of flashback scenes and them flashing back to the current timeline. Like I would be very surprised if they sidelined the main cast for an entire season, especially when there's only maybe 2 seasons left. So while I have heard some of those rumors out there, again, I'm not sure how much stock I put in them personally. And again, I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but I think we're going to see plenty of the original cast in season 4, along with a mix of seeing flashbacks of that original timeline. I just think it would be very weird if they were to kind of set the entire season or the majority of the season in that timeline, and we were kind of focused on that for most of the time. I think that would be a little bit strange. So I'm not expecting that to happen that way. I'm expecting to see a nice little healthy mix of both, but I think we'll see plenty of the original cast in season 4. I don't think they're going to get sidelined.
It was kind of strange. I mean, when we look back at all of season 3 and then the run up to season 3, especially how we dissected the trailer as much, we saw the entirety of the scene with the guy with the drinking the blood out of the skull. That whole thing was in the trailer. The only other part that guy, that the blood drinker had to play, he was also nailed to the tree with a railroad spike. But it was kind of funny how, I mean, a 2-second scene of a Jade flashback also made the whole season trailer, as though it was going to be a pivotal point in the entire season when it was really a footnote, essentially.
True. And it's interesting how they do that with their trailers, isn't it? And this is why I love the way that From cuts their trailers. I feel like they put out some of the best trailers for their show. Trailers that really get us hooked and get us super intrigued, but they're also compiling the footage from those trailers. It's comprised of the first 2, 3, 4 episodes at the most. That's what I really like about From. They do a really good job of drawing us in with these trailers, making it look like one thing's happening when really something totally different is actually happening, all the while only revealing scenes from the first 2 or 3 episodes. Their trailers are brilliant. The format they're using, I wish more shows would use. That's one thing I don't like about House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. Like when they put their trailers together, they're putting footage from every single episode in that trailer. If you go back and look at both seasons of House of the Dragon, you'll see scenes from the finale in their trailers. And I wish shows wouldn't do that. I wish they would not do that. There's plenty of material to cut a good trailer from just the first 3 or 4 episodes. You don't need to put finale scenes into your trailers to make them interesting, in my opinion.
And they were so clever too. And I can't remember, it was another channel and I can't remember the guy's name. I want to give him credit, but whoever it was that discovered that they had used used the sound of Kelly when she was nailed to the tree in season 2, her screaming. Was it Real Enigma that figured that out? Okay.
Yeah.
And then overlaid that onto the scene that we couldn't see of Tian Chin. Because if they'd had Tian Chin yelling or screaming, we might have been able to figure it out. But they basically just reused the audio of Kelly screaming in season 2 to really just throw everybody completely off, which was super clever on their part and super good sleuth work on Real's part if he was the guy that did it. So, that is one super cool thing. And tricky to put in. And that's a lot of effort to put into a trailer.
It is. And that's why I appreciate it. I really enjoy the trailers they put together because it's the whole method. It's all encompassing. Not only is it very thought provoking, and they love the little sleight of hand method as well. The sleight of hand of making us think this is happening in the trailer where something else is happening, like you just mentioned with the whole audio. And again, big shout out to Real Enigmas for kind of cracking that code and realizing that it was reused audio. And the show will tend to do that every once in a while, where they'll take audio from a previous episode, throw it into a new trailer just to freaking throw us off, like they did there. And I imagine they'll probably continue to do methods like that. But I very much appreciate how they throw their kind of trailers together. And Smiley Actors gets a villain role in B+ movie in the next 2 years, maybe. Maybe, and that's always an interesting aspect when you see shows like From, where a good portion of the cast are predominantly unknown actors and actresses that haven't been in a ton of other stuff. Obviously, Harold Perrineau, he's the main draw. He's been in tons of stuff, and he's phenomenal in everything he's in. But most of the other cast members haven't been in a whole lot of stuff. So it will be interesting to see if they do start getting, more roles in the future. As From continues to get more popular, will we start to see these actors and actresses in other projects? And that's very much what happened with Game of Thrones as well. You look at the kind of core cast of Game of Thrones, not the Sean Beans and the Mark Addies and the Lena Headey's. Though they're established, they've been around forever. But the core cast, the Jon Snows, the Robb Starks, the Arya Starks, the Sansas, the Daenerys is. Like these were relatively unknown actors and actresses when that show started, and then once it blew up, they started getting roles in all kinds of stuff. So I will definitely be keeping an eye out, for actors like Smiley, actors like Scott McCord, who's playing Victor. Like I cannot wait to see Scott McCord get some other roles, which I know he definitely will get at some point. Because this is a really skillful cast, and they got some really good actors and actresses under their belt.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the IMDb filmography for Smiley. He did one thing in 2015, Neanderthal Apocalypse, where he played Neanderthal. And then he was background performer in Kids vs. Aliens in 2022. But then other than that, that's it. So yeah, maybe and I could see that definitely being introducing into maybe horror films, low budget horror films. I'd wonder if it could, just because of the way he smiles, if they'll end up putting him in that role again, as instead of being a character in it, he'll be the monster in it again, just because of his physical features. But it'd be interesting to see if some of these guys that we know from are going to end up being able to parlay these minor roles into something else in their career, something bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And even Jade, David Alpe, who's playing Jade, who was, he was in a few small roles before From came around, but I imagine he's probably going to get a lot more after this. These shows are very much can act as springboards for these characters' careers. And even the actress who plays the kimono creature was recently revealed, and I think I have a picture of her somewhere. They revealed a picture of the actress who plays the kimono creature, and she was great in this season. I think they did a really good job recasting that role the way they did.
She was like 70% less hideous in real life than she is in the show.
She's gorgeous in real life.
No, yeah, she's really good. Yeah, she's attractive. I'm kidding.
Yeah, absolutely smoke show. But yeah, even sometimes background roles like that can really be a good springboard in launching an actor or actress's career. But yeah, I don't know. We shall see. Where is From going to continue to go? Again, I think season 4 is going to be the darkest season yet. I think they're up for a lot of loss and death that is going to be coming up in this next season. I think season 4 will be their darkest season yet, as bad as season 3 was, in losing some of our most beloved characters, or not so beloved characters, whether you're a Jim fan or not. I know there's not a lot of Jim fans, at least in our chat, most of the time anyway. But I was genuinely sad to see Jim go. I genuinely felt bad for Jim in the end, right before he got killed off. I feel like they gave him some really good character development. He was really growing as a character and evolving as a husband, and to the point where he was finally realizing, the tight grip, the overly tight grip, the controlling, the kind of control freak that he was over his own family. Just as he starts to realize that and loosen his grip a little bit, boom, of course, they kill him off. And like you mentioned earlier, Ravener, this is something that we've seen time and time again, where they give a character some really good character development, give that character some really good lines, really kind of let them flex a little bit, boom, only to kill that character off in the next episode, like you mentioned with Rainey's. Rainey's was another really good example of that. And I think we're going to see that happen in season 4 as well. I think we're going to see a lot of our secondary characters get some really good screen time. But ultimately, when we do see that, it's going to be a red flag to wonder, okay, when are they going to kill this character off now? And that's something I'm going to be looking for in season 4 when it does eventually come around. When we do see these less prominent characters all of a sudden getting really good screen time and really good dialogue, that's usually going to be an indication that maybe that character is going to get killed off pretty soon. But heading into season 4, I expect it to be incredibly dark. I think in terms of characters that are not going to make it out of season 4, and I guess this will be one of the last questions we ask before we end the stream. What characters do you guys think in the chat? Which characters do you think, and you as well, Ravener, which characters do you guys think are not going to make it out of season 4? Heading into season 4, whether it's one character, 2 characters, 3 characters, or more, even if you only have one, which character do you guys think are not going to make it out of season 4? Who is going to die in the 4th season? And for me, like I said earlier, I think Christy and Henry are definitely 2 that are going to be on the chopping block this year. I don't see them making it out of season 4.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Henry's reached the end of his road. I think if we're gonna bring Boyd low in season 4 and really take him down, maybe they'll take Ellis out. I don't know, man. I'm wondering about Christy though, because she's still technically the medic, and it seems like the people that she treats actually recover, whereas the people that Marielle treats, it's kind of a roll of the dice. So we're not really trusting. I'm not trusting Marielle's medical prowess quite yet to replace Christy. But
is she capable of filling those shoes entirely? I mean, we saw her fill with Nikki, so it's hard to know.
But I think Christy would be a good bet, honestly, because again, that would be taking another of the support structures that Boyd had away from him. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Kenny. Yeah. If they're
Kenny's loved ones getting killed off. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I mean, that'll be it. Just like with the diner. Nobody's going to want to be Kenny's friend if they realize that everybody who's within 7 degrees of him gets terminated. But yeah, I think if they're going to bring, if I had to pick an outlier choice, I will pick Ellis then for season 4, just to bring Boyd as low as possible. And the thing is, though, that might even drive him and Kenny closer with their shared grief and shared, loss of everything. Kenny's lost his entire family, and if Christy would be icing on the cake, I could see Ellis getting taken out at the end of the season, maybe Christy earlier in the season, but Ellis would be like, if we want to leave season 4 with Boyd as low as possible, I could see him holding Ellis's body the same way he held Father Kadri's body, and just that look of just grief and disbelief and
shock.
All of the emotions, at one time, horror and all of it at once. So, again, I'm just saying what scenes I could imagine in my mind, but I could definitely see that. And then that would drive Boyd and Kenny closer for season 5.
Sure.
Both of them acting as a surrogate to the blood relation that they lost. So.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that, and it would have a little bit of that kind of poetic ending to it as well. I mean, again, I think season 4 is going to be a rough one, guys. I think we are going to lose a ton of characters in season 4, and it's going to be a dark one. It's going to be a very dark season.
You think Fatima's going in the box? You think anybody? Do you think they'll use the box here? That'll be no. This is going to be a non sequitur question for you and for because you've asked me questions. Now I'm going to ask you. You think anybody in the remainder of the show is going to go in the box?
No, that box will never get used again. That's my guess. I don't think we'll ever see that box get used again.
Okay.
Do you? You think we'll see it used again?
Man, it's like the Chekhov's gun, but I mean, so that means that they introduce the box, they introduce the
Not
moral
while Boyd's
quandary of the
alive, at
box.
least. If Boyd gets killed off, then I could maybe see them using the box again if somebody else is in charge. As long as Boyd is in charge, that box will never get used.
Okay, because I mean they brought it up. I mean it was a plot element through the Frank thing, and then immediately dismissed as an option for Sarah. And then of course Khatri and Boyd had their discussion about it. But it's so weird that would be another plot element that they just absolutely abandon. Then they introduce it, do one thing with it, and then it's like, okay, no more. And it's weird to take just like to have it as a deterrent, use it once, and then decide that I no longer want this to be a deterrent. They should have deconstructed it. Then he shouldn't have rebuilt it if he knew that he was never going to use it again, because they did
tear the thing down.
Yeah.
Send a message that this thing is never going to be used again, as long as it's up. And maybe that's why he is leaving it up. Maybe he is hoping it will act as some sort of deterrent, even though he's never planning on using it again. And maybe that's his goal. But yeah, I don't see it being used. No box, no more boxes. What's in the box?
All right, ding dongs.
Yeah, the only time we're ever going to see the box get used is right here on this channel every time we play that clip.
All right, ding dongs, it's almost go time. Anybody fucks this up, you spend a night in the box.
Jade, gotta love Jade.
You're that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes.
Morons.
Really?
Really?
I love that one, man. You made a good one there. Samuel thinks that Fatima will die. She will be lynched or burned like a witch if the townsfolk ever find out the truth. Now, that's an interesting idea. I mean, yeah, how will the town react if they find out that Fatima gave birth to one of the monsters? And even worse, one of the same monster that Boyd just killed a few weeks prior? Yeah, I mean, could that paint Fatima in a bad light? I mean, could they start fearing her like she is some kind of witch or something along those lines? That's an interesting idea, Samuel. That's a very interesting idea. I mean, maybe. Shit.
That'll be a tough trial. I mean, on the one hand, she grew the weed, and then on the other hand, she gave birth to a monster, a literal monster. Yeah,
literal monster. Yeah,
that's going to be that's a huge unresolved plot question. I mean, because Fatima essentially, she just kind of gave her little spiel about the origin of the monsters, and then like, okay, you get her into town, and that's the last we saw of her too. They left a lot of stuff wide open, and they did that the whole season though, and I really kind of liked it, because they very much would get partway through a scene and then wham, cut it off with the editing and go on to something completely unrelated. And we don't know how things resolve. Again, I'll go right back to her feeding off of Nikki's blood. They cut that scene off. We didn't see anything until what happened the next day. So where will Fatima be? Just like you had mentioned earlier, they'd cut off that at a cliffhanger with Boyd and the dogs. Come to find out, they're nothing more about the dogs. So pretty wild, it'll be very interesting to see where they pick up Fatima's story. And I think, that's a very good question. Whether they kill her off or not, she might be more of a disruptive element in the town, because some people are just not going to be accepting of it. And you give birth to, whether you might have the best weed on the planet, but if you give birth to a literal monster, you're going to get the permanent side.
People are going to look at you differently.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna factor in as to how people view you at the very least, regardless of how good your cannabis is. Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. Unless Christy changes her hairstyle, she is going to stay in the show. Oh man, yeah. Honestly, I think you might be onto something there, Mond. I think you might be onto something there. As long as Christy has that haircut, I think that haircut is her plot armor. It's the indestructible haircut of
Yeah.
Christy. So
It's
that's
a
a good point.
disruptive element itself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome stuff. Ellis is dead for sure. Willing to bet. Yeah, I mean Ellis. I could definitely see Ellis being on the chopping block as well, David. Absolutely. I mean, if the theme of trying to break Boyd down is going to be continued, then yeah, I mean, taking Ellis out will probably break Boyd more than anything else, I would imagine. So
Mm.
that's a very, very, very big possibility.
Yep.
Imagine Boyd with Smiley like smile, even if it's just a Fatima nightmare. I want to see it now. That would be fucking hilarious. Yeah, you see Fatima having this
Oh,
kind of nightmare sequence where she's seeing Boyd with the fucking smiley smile. Ah, that'll give me a nightmare. Fuck, that'll give me a nightmare. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. But yeah, no more box. I don't think we're gonna see the box again. Kimono lady is like 6 feet. LOL, that's huge. Yeah, her the kimono lady was she was awesome this season. I feel she was a really great character, and it was nice that they kind of moved away from the whole CGI aspect of the kimono creature in season 2, where season 3 they cast a proper actress to play her. And here she is. This is the actress who played the kimono creature, and you can kind of see. I mean, when you see the face structure, the raised cheekbones, you can kind of tell this was that actress who was playing the kimono creature. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we see her again. The kimono creature is another huge question mark, like a really big question mark. We have no idea who or what she is. She's not a monster. She's not your traditional monster that we've seen. She clearly is a lot different from them. She seems to be able to physically interact with people, yes, but she also seems to have that kind of spirit aspect to her as well, where she can kind of appear and disappear at will. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly the kimono creature is. Where is she going to fit in? What is she? Was she one of the original parents? Is there a reason she didn't turn into a quote unquote monster like the rest of the monsters? What is up with this kimono creature ultimately? And where is
Yeah.
she going to fit in the story going forward? I think you think we'll see the kimono creature in season 4?
Oh man, I hope that her relevance and role hasn't just evaporated with the birth. Again, they're going to have to figure out, will they bother figuring out something for her to do, or will they just say that she was only relevant while the birth was in play, acting sort of almost like a midwife role. Probably, yeah, she was not. She was probably like equal. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, like equal, but it's a different of a different nature than the monsters. I mean, of course,
Yeah,
she's
but on like the same level.
yeah, she appeared, she disappeared. Certainly an agent of the entity, aka the man in yellow. Um but yes, what are they going to do with her? I mean, because of the way she manifests and stuff, and the role she
Yeah.
played, almost like a physical form of some of the voices that had told Sarah to do something terrible. She was basically Elgin's version of that, except we were treated to a physical, we were treated to his visions of her, in this different than like Sarah just being told in her mind these things. We actually saw some of this stuff. But again, man, looking at all the manifestations of the kimono lady from the time that she dunked Elgin into the water, with the cliffhanger of season 2, then all the things that we saw of her this way, come with me, help me, or I can help you, all this other stuff, all the ways that she insinuated herself into Elgin's mind to manipulate him to the point where she was really essentially, first she was a horrifying figure, and then by the end of it she was essentially giving him orders, but and then incorporating that weird the Polaroid thing to give him instructions here and there and what to do, to the point where he was actually following them. He'd see like the blood transfusion thing, like he saw like an IV drip, and then intuitively knew that he needed to drip his own blood into mason jars and stuff. So it was kind of strange. Yeah. Oh, and like Will Small says, told Elgin, "I'm an angel." Yeah, she was an angel.
I'm an angel. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see the chat's kind of split on it as well, in terms of maybe she will be back, or maybe she kind of already maybe she fulfilled her purpose already. Maybe her only purpose was to facilitate this birth. Now that the birth has happened, maybe we won't see her again. I could definitely see it going either way. I could see the show just not bringing her back and leaving it a little bit ambiguous because her role is completed now that the pregnancy is over. Or I could potentially see them maybe giving her a different role in season 4 and maybe explaining a little bit more as to what she really is. But yeah, Kimono Lady Tricks Elgin, the sequel. Maybe. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do bring her back. I mean, now that her role in the pregnancy is over, will they give her something else to do and kind of explain her backstory a little bit? Or will that be one of the characters that they maybe just leave a little bit ambiguous? I guess we shall wait and see.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome stuff tonight, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this fine Saturday night evening. Now it looks like our super chat goal was reached. I meant to just put 5. I didn't mean to put it in as 5 specific blue ones. And since we got well over 5 super chats tonight, I am a man of my word. And the goal that did unlock tonight was an after show in the Discord. So I will be doing that after the stream ends. Anybody who wants to pop into the Discord and hang out in the voice chat for a little bit, I'll be in there for a little while hanging out. Everybody, of course, is welcome to join. It's a new little aspect that YouTube has added to live streams where you can set a little goal for super chats, and you can also set basically what that goal unlocks. Last week we did it, and the goal was to unlock a live call-in show, which we are going to be doing next week. We successfully met our goal for that stream, so we will be doing a live call-in show next week. And tonight's goal was 5 super chats unlocks an after show in the Discord. So we are going to be doing that as well. Anybody who wants to come and hang out in the Discord for a little bit, I will be popping in there right after the stream ends. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for all the support. Thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out this evening. We will be doing our yearly Christmas Eve bash like we do every year this year as well. And it's pretty kind of fortuitous because it looks like Christmas Eve falls on a Tuesday, which of course is the regular day we stream anyway. So it's kind of working out in our favor. So Tuesday we will be having our Christmas Eve bash. I'm looking forward to hanging out with everybody who wants to come and join us for a little bit. And of course, we will be setting up that live call-in show for anybody who wants to pop onto the panel and hang out with us for a little bit, talk some From, or talk anything you guys want to talk about on those call-in shows. Is nothing is off the table except for politics, of course. We do not talk politics on the show. But yes, New Year's Eve. Yes, I misspoke. Yes, New Year's Eve. Thank you, Lily. Yeah, New Year's Eve falls on a Tuesday this year, which again, that's Tuesday is when we stream anyway, so it's just kind of just works out that way, I guess. So we will be doing a New Year's Eve stream this year, and we will be diving into some very fun horror-fueled and horror-themed stuff. I have some interesting kind of games that we're going to be playing for the Christmas Eve stream as well. I have a pretty interesting From game that I found online that's pretty fun. And of course, we'll be taking a look at some of our favorite horror characters and our favorite horror films and series of not just this year, but of all time. So that will be fun. We'll be doing that on Tuesday night here on the channel, our yearly Christmas Eve bash that we always do. So looking forward to that. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us, not only tonight, but all year. You guys have been super supportive, from hanging out on the live streams, supporting the videos when they come out, hanging out in the Discord for the watch parties. You guys have been super supportive. I cannot thank you enough. And we will continue. This was a really fun year in 2024. I've met some of the coolest people ever, and I'm super thankful for that. I cannot tell you how thankful I am to have met a lot of you. And 2025, we will be hitting the ground running, and we will be diving into everything here on the channel. We'll be doing tons of From content. Of course, we have some really awesome shows starting early in 2025. I know Severance has really become probably the most requested show that I've ever seen. I mean, I've gotten more requests to do Severance content than probably any other show in history. We've gotten a lot of Severance requests. So we will definitely be covering Severance Season 2 when that airs January 17th, which again is just around the corner now. Squid Game Season 2 has dropped. I will definitely be releasing some videos on that as well. And of course, we have Yellow Jacket Season 3 in February. And of course, tons of From content and the upcoming next Game of Thrones spinoff, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We got a lot of fun stuff to dive into, and we will be here diving into all of it with each and every one of you. But again, big thank you for joining us tonight. I can't thank you enough for all the support. I am going to end this now, and I'm going to head over into the Discord, into the voice chat for a little bit. And anybody who wants to come and hang out for a little is more than welcome. And until next time, stay safe out there, guys, in this crazy world. Make sure you're having fun out there, enjoying your holiday season. I hope everybody has had a phenomenal Christmas. I hope you guys are going to have a phenomenal New Year as well. And as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and I will see you on the